Please all stand for the national anthem.
I want Sasa to explain to me what on earth is exactly happening. Anyway, she's too happy to defend this administration, to denigrate its critics, and to call anyone who criticizes this administration as the enemies of the people.
Is here Darian serious? Parang tado ba siya? Hindi ba niya alam na may mga taong alam yung mga pinagsasabi niya before?
My priority is to carry out the legislative agenda of President Duterte.
The new system of government is the novel idea.
So, again,
parliamentary.
Nakita ko po ang ebidensya at bakas ng dayaan sa ating halalan.
Dapat noon pa kami lumaban.
Hard work and persistence will set you free from the shackles of poverty.
You want fake news? And this comes from every source. 13,000. Where do people get 13,000 EJK? Seriously.
Hindi lahat ng mga karapatan under the family code ay pwedeng makuha ng mga same-sex couples.
I think I'm the only prototype blogger that is anti-drug law.
I wasn't trolling you, Richard. I've been exposing your intellectual dishonesty.
Is the communist insurgency threatening ba sila ngayon katulad ng dati at anong dapat response ng gobyerno?
Please welcome your host, Mr. Franco Mabanta.
Thank you, everybody. I did not expect majority to clap. I thought it would be half and half. Thank you very much for coming. Welcome to beautiful Rizal Park Hotel for the very first Politicon Philippines 2019. I'm really, really excited that this is happening. What about a round of applause? Thank you, everybody, for coming. All right. Now, really briefly, the reason why we put up this event is because you guys keep fighting each other. And we wanted to put up an event that was completely nonpartisan, unbiased, and balanced, where we invited everybody from every sector of the political spectrum to be able to speak out in a way that's civilized, decent, and we're going to share our ideas. The great Sam Harris, one of my heroes, said that in order to build great societies and great communities, we only have two options: violence or conversation. We believe that it should always be conversation. And today, we have some very, very special people, powerful politicians, the best social media luminaries, to discuss some of the brightest ideas, in my opinion. So, without further ado, I'd like to get the show started. Give me one more round of applause. All right. First and foremost, I'd like to address my good friend Miguel Sejuco. Miguel, so as most of you know, I think I'm very pro Duterte, pro Marcos. Miguel has been a staunch critic of both. Miguel, please stand up. Oh, can you give him a round of applause? Yeah. I will give this man a compliment that I have said 1,000 times to everybody on my side. Miguel, in spite of the fact that he's been incredibly critical of the current administration, I think from both the DDS side and the yellow side, the Marcos side, and everybody in the center, I think he's the kindest writer and blogger, the kindest one. Like he's reasonable, he's smart, and he really means well. He's well intentioned, right? I think his politics suck, but he means well. And that's why we're friends. Even if our politics are preposterously different, I genuinely believe that losing friends and family over politics is stupid because of the fact that I don't know if you guys know this, 99% of politicians, they don't give a crap about us. So when you lose friends and family over that, come on, It's better to have conversations like these, and that's why, Miguel, I consider you a brother. And thank you for flying from the Middle East just for this. Thank you very much. All right. Next, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the legendary Danny Javier of the Apple Hiking Society. Is he here? I think he left or whatever, but it was really nice to see somebody from the Apple Hiking Society fully clothed. Oh, yes, what are you guys thinking? Anyway, Danny Danny and Jim are not. Well, I won't get into it, but Danny's hardcore pro Duterte. Obviously, Jim is not. This is how nonpartisan I want the show to come across. I'm not going to take any shots at Jim. Jim is actually my uncle. His wife is the first cousin of my dad. I'd like to wish him the best. He got caught for something. Honestly, if he wasn't as critical of the government, I really don't think it would have been that big of a deal. So I wish you the best. I really think that instead of being quiet, he would just come out, make some jokes, make some fun, just so he's not remembered for that. You know what I mean? So Tito Jim, I wish you the best. I hope you're okay. Fair? Fair. Okay. Nobody clapped. All right. Okay, so just to give you a rundown of everything that's happening today. So first, the event will be live. This is for everybody, at least at home. The event will be live streamed on Facebook Live, on social media accounts in the following accounts. First of all, thank you so much to Inquirer.net. I know many DDS and Marcos supporters think that they're hardcore anti-Duterte, but I really think that they've balanced out over the last year at least. So Inquirer.net, with their 5.3 million followers, they're streaming everything live. We're streaming everything live also on the Politicon Philippines page. We're streaming everything live on Manila Times with about 400,000 followers, and on politicophilippines.com with 500,000 followers. So there's a lot of ways for you guys to watch an unedited debate, and I think that's really cool. Afterwards, we'll come up with a glossy, nicely edited debate, and we'll crunch it down to about maybe an hour and a half. So please watch in those platforms. All right, and then my favorite part about this whole thing, all the profit from the ticket sales, both online and live, will be donated to the Marawi veterans. This is something, it gets me. It gets me every time. I get really emotional about this. I have 3 advocacies in life. I I help a foundation with kids with autism and Down syndrome. I've helped a couple of hundred recovering addicts, and the Marawi thing is my favorite because these guys like they fought for our freedom, and they're losing a leg, an arm, eyeball, cracked skulls. And when I was asked to do this, the reason why I said yes is because I want to help my friends. All of you here who bought tickets online and live, every single peso is going to the widows and the people from the Marawi siege and the internally displaced persons of Marawi. So please give yourselves a round of applause because that's a wonderful endeavor. Wonderful endeavor. I'll give credit actually to a really good friend of mine, Tiger Garrido. Where are you, Tiger? Are you here? Please stand up. This man has dedicated the last 2 years of his life on social media just to help the Marawi soldiers. That's fantastic. Tiger, thank you for being a good human being. You are a net positive for this world. So thank you. All right. The next thing is I want to give thanks to Gabba Gives. Gabba Gives, I don't know if you guys are aware of this. They're one of the best crowdfunding charities. They have over 200 charitable partners. They do work for kids with cancer in Mindanao, men who are wrongly arrested. They're wonderful people. And the best part is because they were the presenters, it took a lot of heat off the event. Because when people like Sass, Jesus Sis, Richard Hidaran, or me put our faces on the posters, you get like attacked from both sides, from Yellows and Duterte. But the second we put, Gabba Gibbs as the main presenter, once you hit that charity, you're a bad person. So thank you so much for Gabba Gibbs for saving our butts. All right. I'd like to acknowledge the generosity and participation of the following people. President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. She's not here tonight, but she gave a wonderful video that we'll show later. Manny Pacquiao. The generosity of Senator Grace Poe, who has a stranglehold on the number one spot. I'm really, really proud of you, Tita Grace. We have an exceptional senatorial candidate in Glenn Chong. You'll hear about his story later. You guys familiar with Glenn? He has one of the craziest engagements on social media right now. Probably the best. Even higher than Mocha's. I'll tell you about his story later, but he's a wonderful candidate. We have Butch Valdez, great guy. Dado Padilla, Toti Casino, and former Senate President Coco Pimentel. All senatorial candidates, and they will be giving us their platforms and their ideas, and we'll open the Q&A to the whole audience so that you can support them or grill them. Up to you. We want this to be about the people because this is for you guys. All right, and then this is the surprise. This is the thing that we were not able to publicize because we wanted this to be a surprise. So Richard and Sass are billed as the main event of this entire thing. And I think it's going to be fiery and really because they've hated each other for a long time. I mean, I saw them hug upstairs, but I thought it was fake. But Richard and Sass are billed as the main event, but right after their 90-minute debate, for the first time in Philippine history, unprecedented, we're putting together a super panel of 8 of the most relevant and intelligent social media luminaries in the Philippines. 4 and 4. Right? So on my team, it's Sass, me, Trixie Cruz Angeles, and Darwin Caniente. Big names if you follow DDS. And then on the other side, we have Richard, Jesus, and 2 really, really smart guys that I just met today. So it's going to be a free-for-all. It's going to be free-for-all. It's going to be like a real discussion. I will do my best to make sure it's decent and civil, but I have a feeling, what's that? The safe part I can't guarantee. It'll be. I'll do my best to make it decent and civil, but I have a really good feeling they're gonna go at each other's throats, and it'll be really entertaining. So that will happen right after the Sass and Richard debate. Also open to Q&A, so you guys can ask them anything you want. If you agree or disagree, we want you to know that you guys are part of this fully and unconditionally. Cool. All right, so I'd like to call on a representative from Legacy Manila. None? Okay, there's no more representative. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to ask each senatorial to come on stage. We're going to start with senatorial candidate Toti Casino. So Toti will have the shortest stint, but for the rest of the candidates like Coco and Butch and Glenn Chong, this is how what's going to work. They're going to be given 1 hour each. The first 20 minutes, we surveyed 25,000 millennials, which is the biggest voter base in terms of demographic, and we asked them what the most pressing national issues are. Everything from legalization of medicinal marijuana to separation of church and state, all that stuff. Of the 6, they have to choose 3, and in the 10 minutes, they will address that. The next 10 minutes, it's up to them. They talk about their platforms, talk about anything they want. The following 20 minutes, it'll be a 2-on-1 interview with me and Jesus, my good friend Jesus Falsis, who is on the other side, so it'll be balanced, and we'll interview them for 20 minutes, and then after the next 20 minutes, open Q&A to everybody. So mind you, these are people running for senatorial positions that will put them in power over you. So you have the right to ask them anything. I encourage you guys to raise your hands and ask these senatorials why they deserve our vote. Is that cool? Cool. Okay. Yeah, okay, so the 6 questions, I'm going to say to you right now, the 6 questions that that are going to be given to senatorials are these. What is your stance on medicinal and recreational marijuana? That's number 1. Number 2, should politicians prioritize internet speed over other pressing issues? I like that one. Number 3, who should be given authority to decide whether or not something on Facebook is fake news, and what should be the criteria to nominate them as the proper authority? I think that's very important right now because, as you know, the fact checkers are, well, you know who the fact checkers are, right? Number 4, how involved should the church be in government affairs? Number 5, are there any adjustments President Duterte should make in his war on drugs? And number 6, what do you hate and like about President Duterte's take on China? All right, so these are the 6 questions. All senatorials get to choose 3. They'll answer it, and you guys get to ask questions afterwards. Good questions, right? Relevant, I think. All right, so let's do this. I'd like to call on our very, very first candidate. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome great guy, Toti Casino.
Name is Edmundo Toti Casino, number 18 in your ballot. And I guess it will be my first time to communicate to you in English because from the past couple of months in the campaign trail, it's been always in Filipino. And I guess this is a language that probably me and my colleague would be more comfortable in relating. So what are the 3 topics that I'd like to cover as part of my stance? Number 1, what is your stance on medical and recreational marijuana? For all we know, there's a lot of studies that have already been done all over the world about the use of marijuana as beneficial. And it seems that it's high time our country should also look into this because, let's face it, we are a tropical country. Marijuana grows practically in this region. And during the Vietnam War, how many here has been there during the year of the Vietnam War? And that has been quite prolific because in the region, marijuana was grown practically in the Indo-Chinese area and has penetrated a big vast of users, not only in this part of the world, but the rest of the world, that today, after 40 or 50 years, there are a series of studies that not only does it give the user some kind of high, it has also medicinal benefits. And let us not forget that this is a natural herb that is grown for practically in tropical regions like the Philippines that might generate some medical benefits. So my stance here is let's have an open discussion on this subject matter and consider, are there truly good medicinal benefits in the use of marijuana? All right? And how many... Okay, I'm sorry. I was trying to bring it down because I don't want to have the echo. Okay. So, in that regard, my stance here is have a serious look into this. There are 2 countries in the world that has legalized marijuana. One is Uruguay, and second is Canada. We could probably study and look at the effects, the positive and the negative effects on these 2 countries, and how were they able to regulate it in terms of usage, in terms of growing. Probably it's a multi-billion-dollar industry when you start to export it. And probably there are other benefits for those who have central nervous diseases like epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, even stroke, and God knows whatever else there might be. And that is one aspect that I think we should look into. And probably if there's any policy, let's have it graduated. Meaning, rather than liberalizing it, probably have some restricted usage, such as guarded prescription for purposes of therapy. In that regard, maybe the usage may not be. Because one of the fears of marijuana usage is it's a stepping stone for the user to go on a higher level of addiction, whether it's heroin or, worst case, shabu, etc. And that's a big no-no. So my stance here is, if there are beneficial medical effects, let us sort of consider that for purely on medical purposes. All right? That is my stance as far as usage of marijuana as medicinal purposes. Second question. Should politicians prioritize internet speed over other pressing issues? My background is on IT. It's a definite yes. For crying out loud, we've got the slowest internet speed in the, I was going to use the G word, in this region. And it is quite a disgusting measure, because here we are, very fluent in English, very advanced in the use of technology. You got the BPOs out here. We are the second, if not now the first choice for call centers worldwide. And we got one of the best IT experts in this country. And yet in terms of internet speed, one of the backbones of technology is the slowest. And not only the slowest, it's the most expensive. One of the stands of our party, Katipunan ng Demokratikong Filipino, is to dismantle the control of oligarchs. Because who are the people behind the internet? Are the same people behind electricity and water. All right? And quite frankly, in this thing when they liberalized telcos, who benefited? Just 2 names. And I don't have to mention them. That's free publicity for them. And you know who they are. Right? Now, in this bidding that they opened up, and they had a third player, and they had all these objections coming from the Senate and Congress. What are they trying to do? Suppress advancement? Suppress development? Why? Because are they in the payroll of these 2 oligarchs? Seriously. I mean, are they thinking, do they know the repercussions of slow internet in this day and age? What year is it now? Is it 1996? It's 2019, for crying out loud. Right? And we're ending this year, we're ending the second decade, and we're still running at what? 5 Mbps? You know, Vietnam, by next year, will be running the first Formula One racing. You know what Formula One is? It's the Class A of sports. They practically use everything on technology in that region, and Vietnam was a Johnny-come-lately country, and here they are running a Formula One racing, not outside their territory, not outside the city, right in the heart of Hanoi. Formula One, where you get those cars running at 30 kph, you get a pit stop for 2.3 seconds, you change 4 tires, everything run by telemetry, you got the GPS working around there. Seriously. That's Class A, man. That's Class A technology right there and then. 19, 20 races in a year. Everything run by internet. And where's our internet here? None. That's disappointing. How come nobody's shouting here? How about they say the F word? Mother F, man. Mother F. How come we're getting our internet the most slowest in this country? in this region. Can you take that? That's not a BS, right? Right? And then here we are, we're like slaves. We're subject to the owners of these two families allowing us to pay the highest rate in internet. And where do we end up with? Slow. You get a goddamn traffic, and if you have the high-speed internet, you don't have to take on the traffic. You can just go on the internet and do Skype. You don't do the meetings. You don't have to leave your house. You can do meetings by Skype or Viber or WhatsApp. And you can transact by, e-commerce. Internet is vital. It's the bloodline of technology. It's the bloodline of development. And that's not even there in the number one bill in the Senate and in Congress right now as we speak. They talk about bill. Sure, that's infrastructure, physical. But what they don't see is the internet. I don't know if you understand that, but Anyway, third one. How involved should the church be in their government affairs? Under the Constitution, we, the sovereign people, must implore the Almighty God. The word imploring means we plead, we seek guidance, principles. And Section 8(6) of the Bill of Rights, the separation of the church and state is invaluable. Now, how do you coincide those two? Here we are imploring Almighty God in terms of giving us the principles and guidance to have a humane and balanced life. We have a government run by thieves, murderers, those who cheat. There's even a candidate running for the third time. And he was the one chairing the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee, where I, as a representative of the community of society, was against the use of this automation simply because he has a vested interest to run for the third time in the Senate. And it's the gall to violate the law, and he's even a lawyer. For crying out loud, what rule of law are we following? Seriously. Do I want to run for Congress and Senate and deal with these clowns? Frankly, no. Because I would be wasting my fucking time dealing with these assholes and trying to reason out with them and tell them, shoot, I cannot make this bill pass because this, that. Because I'm not sponsored by any oligarchs. By the way, KDP does not get donations from oligarchs. That's our number one rule. Our number one rule is we get donations as small as $10 or $100, $500 from every single Filipino, so that we are indebted to the Filipino people and not to a few oligarchs, not even to a drug lord. And that's our principle. We stand by principles, not by convenience. We stand by ideas, not by personalities. That's where we, Katipunan Demokratiko Pilipino, or KDP, are committed to. I don't stand by myself. I stand up with the party. And what we're standing in front of you is not a person, it's a party. And going back to this, how should the church be involved? The church provides you spiritual guidance, the moral values, individually, how you should behave, how you should conduct yourself in public, in government, in industry. Take away the greed. Promote love, charity. Yesterday, 2 days ago, I was in this slum area in Caloocan, and to my disgust, man, 10,000 families sharing a 100-hectare area, those shanties, and they don't have a decent toilet. What quality of life is that? And for the 33 years since we ousted that other dictator, has the quality of life of these people improved? Nada. Zero. That's the kind of government we had since we kicked out the so-called dictator, which was told to us by some foreign CIA, telling us that, he's the dictator and he's the traitor and he should be kicked out. And we got rid of him. And guess what? 33 years since then. Have we advanced? Honestly? Has this been forward?
Very good.
Maybe a few, yes, but not a majority. Our OFWs are unsung heroes. How are they treated in these countries? They're treated like what? Trash in the embassies, in the consulars. We know that. We hear that from those who are supporting us. It is a disgust, and they come to us and they tell us, how can we help them? And frankly, even if we make a niche, even if we get our popularity here, you think we're going to win for those goddamn smartmatic running the election, who we know has cheated 3 times, and they're going to cheat it for the 4th time? If we ever win, if ever out of 62 candidates, well, don't blame me if in the other side, the number 8 party wins. That's totally out of whack. They're going to hack it like hell. They did that in 2010. They did that in 2013. And they did that in 2016. And they're going to do that in 2019 because the same foreign vendor who is running our election system, a foreigner. And COMELEC allowed it, and even our Joint Congressional Oversight Committee allowed it because the chairman there is running for the 3rd time. And the co-chair happens to be the brother-in-law of whose brother-in-law won the number 2 rank in the Senate race of 2016 when he was not even popular. Jesus Christ. That's the kind of government we have here. Seriously, I don't need to win. I'd be comfortable in my own comfort zone teaching my students how to be a stellar performer. And I'm proud to say a lot of my students are working outside this country. They're working in Singapore, in Japan, in Norwegian, in the U.S., Palo Alto, Silicon Valley. Some of them are vice presidents, some of them are chief information security officers. I'm proud of them. They learn from the right guy, the right person. You know? And to me, that's the reward as an educator would get as you see your student, getting those values that they never get. And these are the students that did not come from the top 3 schools. And I tell my students, that's not your competition, La Salle, Ateneo, UP. I came from all 3 schools, by the way. And I said, why? They all look at me and they said, look out in the streets. Are our streets any better? Are the lifestyles of our people any better? Is the government any better? Is business good? No. Well, guess what? All those running those 3, the government, the industry, are all coming from those 3 schools. Not that I envy them, like I said, I came from all 3 schools. My grade school and high school was La Salle Green Hills, my college, and part of my graduate studies in Ateneo, and I took my master's in UP. But the thing is, the way things are running here, it's being dominated by a syndicate. Something like a mafia. Protecting their own interests. You put together the drug lords. You put together even the oligarchs. All of them together. The ones running the mainstream media. The one who's running the public utilities, electricity, the water. All right? Now, church. What does the church have to say about that? The moral values. Is that right to cheat on your fellow citizen? Is it right to lie? Is it right to steal? That's what the church should do. And what the government does? The government must give the material things, the services, education, health, infrastructure, good industry, technology. That's where the government should be. Good conduct. Now, is it right for the church to bash on personalities? No. It's better if the church just tell them in the pulpit, this is how the institutions should be. This is how the government was created. In grad school, I learned that the early beginnings of government, way back in the early centuries, was a police. If you try to picture in the Wild Wild West, the first form of government is a sheriff. After the sheriff comes the school. After the school comes, well, of course, they have the salon and the casinos and whatever, the blacksmith. And then there you go, doing this and that. And that was the first incidence of government. So it was told to us by our grad school teacher. Then from there, it started to evolve, and then taxes came in, and et cetera, et cetera. As it evolved and transformed into what we have now, with all the sophistication, you need technology, you need the church to have the ideas what is fair, what is right, what is good, what is beneficial. Not what is to them hitting on the person, because the person who is a saint? Everybody's a sinner. All you have to do is just cast out the sin and then reform. All right, I got to wrap up. So in three counts. Okay, regulate the use of medicinal marijuana. I'm good for that. Further study. Let's examine the 2 countries that did that. Number 2, should internet be the pressing priority? Hell yes. That's number 1. And number 3, on how should the church be involved with government? By all means, they're on the spiritual side and government is the material side. Thank you. Toti Casino, number 18.
Thank you very much, Toddy Casino. Good luck, sir. What a zealous, enthusiastic man. All right, our next senatorial candidate is personally one of my favorites. He has probably the most fascinating story. Do you guys know who Glenn Chong is? All right. For those of you who don't, I'll give you a very brief background. Glenn Chong used to be a congressman. Back in 2010, I believe, he discovered a lot of bad things happening with Smartmatic. That it's the company that runs our elections. It's automated, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, first of all, full disclosure, I was working with the Marcoses last year, so you might think this is biased. I'm not working with them anymore, but they're still my friends. But I'm saying this because I've seen the evidence in the data, okay? And Glenn is pivotal to this story. So he's been fighting Smartmatic for about 10 years to try to expose all the cheating, basically, that happened. The misconception that the world has is that Smartmatic got hacked into. That's wrong. Smartmatic did exactly what it was built to do, which is to be corrupt. That is why it is banned in perpetuity in Brazil, Venezuela, the city of Chicago, and the state of Utah, specifically for voter fraud. It is a lean, mean voting cheating machine. That's what it is. And that man right there, as his main advocacy in life, has been fighting them. Powerful people. We're talking about $1 billion industry because of how much money this company earns from politicians that want to buy themselves in. This guy's been fighting them fearlessly for almost a decade. Now, Glenn, my dear friend, I just got goosebumps, but something really tragic happened to him recently because of the fact that he announced he was going to run for Senate to fight for this really noble cause. His best friend in the whole world and his assistant was murdered. He was first captured and tortured. They removed the back of his teeth. They removed his toenails. They put him back in the car and they riddled the car with bullets. I don't know who did it. I have guesses, but I can't say it on TV. It broke Glenn's heart, but it did not break his spirit. And in some polls he's doing well, some polls he's not. But I really, really hope that this guy becomes a senator because he is brave as fuck and he's doing things for the right reasons. And in spite of the fact that his best friend was tortured and murdered, and by the way, he's campaigning everywhere where he could, possibly get assassinated or whatever. He deserves it. I think that the most intelligent and deserving candidate right now, after meticulously and ruthlessly talking to almost all the candidates, at least top 40 candidates, I think the most intelligent and battle-tested senatorial candidate is Juan Ponce Enrile. A lot of you will disagree with me, but I'm sorry, he's a genius. The guy who deserves it the most after him is Glenn Chong. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce my brother and dear friend, former congressman and hopefully future senator of the Philippines, Glenn Chong. He was the only candidate that did not want to see the 6 questions. He wanted to do it on the spot, and yeah, so go ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, kanina he volunteered to read to me the 6 questions. I said no I'll just read it when I get there. What is your stance on medicinal and recreational marijuana? For medicinal marijuana, yes. If it's really proven that it can give benefits to terminally ill cancer patients. But for recreational marijuana, no. We cannot, hindi po natin pwedeng isugal ang kinabukasan ng ating mga kabataan, ng ating sambayanan for purely recreational purposes. On the other hand, with respect to politicians prioritizing internet speed, I am speaking from my experience. Ang speed kasi mabagal, you actually spend more time over the internet and you actually pay more. If internet speed is faster, you can actually accomplish your work a lot faster as well and you pay less. Kaya nga ako'y nagdududa why our internet speed is very slow, because it's intended to make you pay more. That is why we should prioritize increasing the speed, rather than we should dictate to these monopolies, duopolies, that our internet speed should be faster so that we will actually pay less. And besides, internet, social media is a very effective balancing factor for mainstream media. Because mainstream media has controlled the flow of information. They control what you see, what you hear, and only social media can effectively balance that with alternative information. Di po ba? And that's why I want information to get to our people faster, more efficiently, more effectively. That's why we should prioritize this one. Besides, it does not cost much of the attention of our politicians and our leaders. It only takes political will. And then finally, what do you hate or like about President Duterte's take on China in the Philippines? I'm very practical about our relationship with China. Not because I'm Glenn Ang Chong. Both my parents and my grandfathers are from Fujian province. But, of course, when I was born into this world, I was not free to choose what names I could get. But when I become of age, now, I am free to choose where I will invest my heart and all my talents. And I chose to cast my lot with the Republic of the Philippines. I am a Filipino. But in our relationship with China, I am also guided by the fact that we have to be practical. We cannot win a war with China. Iihi lang lahat ng mga inchik, malulubog na tayo sa ihi nila. Di po ba? There are 1.4 billion of them. Of course, we're only 1/14 of their size. We cannot win a war with them. What do we need to do? We need to maximize our relationship with them so that we can get more benefits for our people. Di po ba? Well, if they see me as a Chinese, I would build on that goodwill so that we can cut the flow of drugs into the Philippines. That is the most important, di ba? Most of the drugs actually come from China. Most of the drugs actually come from China. We don't know. We might be actually part of their extended warfare. We might actually be part of their extended warfare stretching from South Korea to China. South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, Indonesia, and Australia. Ito yung corridor for the Americans, di ba? And since they are at war with each other, not in the literal sense of the word, but they are competing as giant economies. So pwede naman talaga, actually, I'm just positing this as a theory. They may be flooding these countries with drugs as part of an extended warfare. Let's get our country out of that extended warfare to keep our people safe. Di po ba? And if they see me as one of theirs, though I don't like that, I will take on that goodwill to reduce the flow of drugs into the country. That will be a big help for our people. We can build on that as a good start. But with respect, however, to natural resources in the South China Sea, okay, if we go into joint exploration with them, they are also claimants, di po ba? They're staking their claims there. We are also staking our claims. So if they allow for joint exploration, in effect, they are recognizing our sovereignty. And at the same time, if we allow we allow ourselves to go into joint exploration with them, we'll recognize their sovereignty. So let's maintain it that way. Let's maintain the status quo, but hindi po 60-40. Talo tayo sa 40%. It should be 50-50. We should treat each other as equals. So that's my stand with respect to these three issues. Huwag tayong makipag-away. Talo tayo. Let's build on the goodwill, the good relationship we can get. Basta patas lang ang laban, we treat each other in mutual respect, we can get more benefits and advantage for our people. That's the key. That's what I intend to do. Because ang promise ko talaga sa taong bayan, babaguhin ko ang takbo ng buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Is my 10 minutes over? Tapos na po ba yung 10 minutes ko? Or I can go to the next 10 minutes? Okay na. Yes, brother. Thank you so much, brother. Takot talaga ako nito kay Franco. I have CNN right now. They put it at 5 o'clock. And Franco told me, no, you can't. You have to come here. Baka pugutan ako ng liig nitong Franco na ito. So I have to be here. When I first ran for public office, I was just 32 years old. I had no experience in politics, in campaigning, and in public administration. I was nobody. I had no machinery. As a matter of fact, all my candidates were all neophytes. But I didn't ask help from big business. I didn't ask help from the big politicians because after all, Biliran was controlled by only one political family. Sa kanilang gobernador, congressman, mayor, pamilya niya lahat. Of 132 barangay captains, only 5 supported me. Not because they loved me, but because they were my relatives. So they were forced to support me. All the 128 were nandun sa kalaban ko. But after the elections, I won convincingly. At napanalo ko rin yung 3 mayors ko out of 8. 4 vice mayors out of 8. And 50% of all local councilors. There I saw the capacity of the people to choose the right leaders. And I wanted to live with that. Kasi ang utang na loob ko ay hindi sa big business, hindi sa mga politiko, kundi sa ordinaryong taong bayan. And that's exactly the same strategy I'm applying now. I'm not asking help from big business. I'm not asking help from big politicians. I go directly to the people. The biggest achievement I was able to deliver to my people is ito po. When I started as congressman, with nothing, but yung nasa puso ko, gusto kong bumawi sa taong bayan. Gusto kong bumawi, sumukli doon sa tiwala nila sa akin. I started with a poverty incidence of 65%. 65%. 7 out of 10 people in Biliran were poor. And we have been on the top of the 10 poorest provinces in the Philippines for several years in 2007. 3 years later, when I stepped down, nung dinaya na ako nitong Comelec and Smartmatic, only 3. The poverty incidence was under 30%. From 65% to under 30% in 3 years. Meaning to say, 7 out of 10 were poor at the start. When I left, only 3, barely 3 of 10 people in Biliran were poor. So I invested on education, public infrastructure, and health. Ito po yung 14 school buses ko, tourist buses, ferrying 7,000 high school students every single day from barangay to school and back, and you don't pay a single peso. Ang model ko at that time was Singapore. I paid my school bus driver twice the daily minimum wage. 2007, ang daily minimum wage namin was 220 pesos. I paid them 450 pesos per day. Bago lang na-achieve dito sa Metro Manila yung 500 na daily minimum wage. Di po ba? But we already had it in Biliran in 2008. Well, of course, pagkatapos kung mawala sa pwesto, yung 3 buses ko hinulog sa bangin, yung 4 sinunog. Yung iba ginamit na sa kung ano-anong gamit, na-stop po yun. When I was congressman, you will never see a child walking from their home, from his home to the school and back. They're all riding in air-conditioned tourist buses. I bought a mobile clinic. I staffed it with 32 doctors, dentists, nurses, and physical therapists. We go around Biliran every day. Nagme-medical mission ako every day. Because we only have one hospital serving 200,000 people. 200-bed hospital serving 200,000 people. That's a joke. So ang akin is, I would rather go to the barangays and stop the people from going to the hospital to save on money. I made a university that pumped in 100 million pesos every year to our local economy. That's why business boomed, jobs were created. Kaya po, ito, I delivered 528 barangay projects in 1,085 days in office. 3 years is 1,085 days. I delivered 528 barangay projects. Meaning to say, one barangay project is completed every 2 days that Glenn Chong was in office. On the average. I concreted 32 kilometers of national road in 3 years. My opponent, 32 kilometers of national road in 12 years. I concreted 31 kilometers in 3 years. That's why when our road was concreted and connected to the regional transport network, ang pamasahe bumaba, dumami ang kompetisyon, bumaba ang presyo ng bilihin. I remember what the World Bank told us when I was still new. Of all the projects you can make, when you concrete the roads and connect your towns to the regional centers, it gives your constituents 22 times more benefits than any other project you can make. That's why that was my priority. Pero nag-promise din po ako sa taong bayan, kapag hindi na siminto ang kalsada, batuhin niyo ako pagdating ng sunod na eleksyon. Hindi na po ako binato dahil konkreto na po ang kalsada nila. So after 2010, that's when I found out that there were 4,114 ballots already read by 145 PICOS machines days before the elections. And that's when I started my crusade for clean, honest, transparent elections. For 9 years, I was there in the Senate fighting for you, for this country that you did not know about. Because mainstream media is being paid. And as far as I know, it's 1 million pesos per news editor per month. That's how deep the corruption has seeped into even the private sector. So, on September 18, 2014, while in the Senate nag-hearing kami, someone from the COMELEC Advisory Council came up to me and told me, in short, kung makiusap ka lang sa amin, wala ka ng problema sa biliran. So in other words, they have the capacity to make you win. Ang sagot ko sa kanya, walang presyo ang aking prinsipyo. Ipaglalaban ko ang aking bansa at ang sambayanan. And that's why I ended up today with you, still fighting. Hopefully, we will win. Not for me, but for all of us. So on July 31, 2018, that's when I proved in the Senate 459 PICOS machines were already transmitting results 1 day before the elections. And they have not refuted that until today. They have not refuted that until today. They attempted to refute it on April 8, 2019. Nag-meeting kami ng technical working group dyan sa Senate. Sa halip na masira yung sinabi ko, nadagdagan pa ang ebidensya ng kanilang dayaan. For one, there were machines that were transmitting with specific IP addresses. Pagdating ng resulta sa munisipyo, iba na ang IP address ng mga makinang ito. So you see, somebody else was transmitting results pretending to be these machines. But the IP address of the original machine is not the one recorded in the municipal canvassing system. There were other anomalies. There were machines na nauna pang natagap ng munisipyo ang resulta bago nagpadala ang makina. By 12 minutes to 2 hours. So nauna pang natanggap ng munisipyo ang resulta before the machine actually transmitted the results. So hindi na naman ito lumabas because they are controlling the flow of information to you. This is the only platform I have. And this is my last stand for you and for me. Pag natalo tayo dito, maghanap na lang tayo ng iba. Babalik na ako sa pribado kong buhay. Pag nanalo naman ako at pinagkatiwalaan ninyo, I will serve you the same way I serve my people in Biliran. Finally, tapos na raw. Finally, kung ako'y pinagkatiwalaan ng taong bayan, ang unang-unang gagawin ko ay patalsikin talaga si Smartmatic at palitan ng hybrid election system. A system that is very difficult to cheat. We have to restore to our hands the power to choose our people, our leaders. Remember, the power to change our destiny lies in our hands. If we choose wisely, we will reap the benefits of a good choice. If we choose wrongly, we will all suffer the same fate. But we have the power to correct our mistake after 3 years. Pero pag ninakaw ang ating boto, binibenta na parang karne at isda sa palengke, then we have no choice. Wala tayong kalaban-laban. And then the second one that I would like to do is building on the experience of Richard Santillan, my guard for 12 years. He suffered so much pain in their hands. 70 wounds and broken bones all over his body, perpetrated by 19 police officers, 2 generals and 3 colonels na ang kinasuhan dito. And soon, the National Bureau of Investigation will file murder and torture charges against them. So, inantay na lang po ang aking affidavit. I would like to use this to strengthen our police force, the institution itself. I-separate ko po yung SOCO, yung scene of crime, as a separate agency for dealing mainly on forensic evidence, and internal affairs service. Para itong tatlo will not be colluding with one another. At mahirapan ang mga tiwali na gumawa ng bagay na ito. And I want to give our poor people the power to fight for justice. Kapag sumulat ang pamilya, kukunin ang ebidensya sa pulis na hawak daw nila sa kaso ni Richard Santillan, mag-5 buwan na, ayaw ibigay sa amin. Now, I want to make a law that when the family writes and demands, within 24 hours, the police is obligated to provide it para wala nang gumawa ng ganitong krimen. And finally, I want to uplift the lives of our people. I did it before, I'm going to do it now. We build on our ease of doing business. Kailangan sumipa talaga tayo so that we can get more foreign capital that will build brick and mortar factories and businesses that will give jobs to our people. I think tapos na ako. Nandyan na, nag-warning na. So, that will be all, guys. I stand before you. Kayo nang bahala. Timbangin niyo ako. Kilatisin niyo ako. It's all up to you if you will trust me or if you will not. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn Chong, wait! One more time for former Congressman Glenn Chong. Glenn, where are you going? Glenn, come on. I know you haven't seen CNN debate in a while, but let's do this.
We can make them wait.
Yes, we can.
They changed the time at the last minute.
I don't know if you've met Jesus Falsis yet.
Yes,
Attorney
of
Jesus
course.
Falsis. So, in the spirit of things being balanced, so he was formerly a member of the Yellow Liberal Party, and now he's denying it because there's nothing that makes you want to deny it more than being attacked by Chris Aquino. I'm joking.
I sided with him, huh?
Of course you sided with him.
If with Chris Aquino, I sided with him.
All right, let's get to the interview. So, by the way, guys, this Attorney Jesus Falsis, he is, I'll say like you're a critic of Duterte and Marcos. You're a critic. That's fair.
Go.
Yeah. That's fair. Yes, and you're extremely reasonable. We've been friends for a year.
I'm more reasonable than other anti.
Like.
Dalawa lang naman kaming hindi anonymous. We're only 2 who are not.
That's
anonymous.
true. That's very true.
I don't want to mention her name.
Yeah, I hate anonymous pages because if you're going to criticize anybody about their reputation, show your damn face. Show your damn face. Otherwise, you're a coward. You're a goddamn coward. All right, we're going to move on to certain issues, but I'd like to just...
Let's get to Attorney Glenn Chong.
Yeah, wait, hold on. I want to talk about his social media really quickly. What did he do? Like, you have, are you over 100,000 followers now?
212,000.
Okay, 200,000. Mocha has 6 billion and...
5.7 million.
Sorry. Thinking Pinoy has over 1 million. Thinking Pinoy has over 1 million, clearly.
Thinking Pinoy has 1.4 million.
And yet, you out-engage them preposterously. Like, so, you
Pinawasan pa yun ng Facebook.
Yeah, because
engagement ko, pinawasan pa ni Facebook. Shadow banning.
You guys don't even know what Facebook's been doing to our side. But anyway, beside the point. You went on like this I've been doing social media I own one of the biggest social media marketing companies in the Philippines, and I've never seen that kind of engagement in the 7 years I've been doing this. You went on a 6-week run where every post got 25,000 likes, 14,000 shares. How did that happen? Like that's an anomaly.
I don't know, but I think the people trust me. My followers. You were the one who told me that my followers are 10 times more active than anyone else.
Sure.
I remember that, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but that kind of engagement is preposterous. I've never seen that in my life.
You have to strike a chord with the people talaga to get that kind of
Correct.
views.
Yep. You've been going viral recently too.
And before, before my live audience, if I make a live broadcast, my audience is about 200,000, between 200 and 250,000. I reached once 500,000 views na isang live broadcast lang. But now it's down to less than 100 because Facebook is controlling us, and I found out they're using shadow banning.
Yeah, well, what's happening, this is fact, not opinion. Before, when Facebook would flag something as fake news, they would just remove the post completely or remove your page. Now they have this new technology called de-emphasizing a post. And that's it's exactly what it sounds like. Meaning, like, if Rappler or Verify says, this is fake news,
it appears less on your news feed.
Yes, so it damages engagement massively.
Actually, sir, in our operation center, I tested 20 accounts. Okay. So all the posts that I made, maybe only three of those accounts na lumabas yung post ko. The 17 did not appear, even if naka-see first yung default nila.
Right. Okay.
Since we're on the question of Facebook and parang Facebook siding against one side over the other, since you're running for senator, you can craft laws to regulate such kind of behavior, no? What's on your mind? How do you want to approach social media and Facebook if you win as a senator? What laws?
Great question.
Actually, I intend to bring Facebook to the Senate. Let's investigate what you're doing to the people. But more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, in Article 32 of the Civil Code of the Philippines, nakalagay doon, any person, juridical or natural, because Facebook Philippines is a juridical personality, who directly or indirectly obstructs, impedes, or defeats our constitutional right, especially freedom of speech and expression, will be liable for damages, including exemplary and moral ones. So I'm thinking now, like the issue of fraud, election fraud, it affects all of us. We might as well sue them in a class action suit, like $1 billion, to teach them a lesson.
I want $1 billion.
Will you want to join?
Yeah, I'll take a piece.
I was thinking of that action, because if they curtail our freedom of speech, especially in my case, all my posts about election fraud between July and September, it's no longer in my timeline. And
what?
It's no longer in my timeline. They didn't remove it, they hide it. And all my issues of Richard Santillan from January to February is no longer there.
That's crazy.
You cannot find it. So I'm thinking of that legal remedy using Article 32 to extract, to get redress for these grievances. But if I become senator, by your help and by God's grace, I'll really bring them before the Senate. Imbestigahan natin, what have you been doing? What have you been doing to curtail the rights of every Filipino to express their views? Because the first victim would be myself. And I know every one of us have been victimized by this kind of de-emphasizing.
Yes. And by the way, that term was specifically said to me by the country head of Facebook over lunch. He said, now we de-emphasize posts. But he said he's neutral, whatever.
Considering they've investigated Facebook in the United States, nagkaroon na din ng hearing against Mark Zuckerberg. But of course,
that was a hilarious, pathetic hearing, by the way.
But Facebook would say, sir, syempre, the algorithm is neutral. So,
it's not neutral. We know it's not neutral.
Yeah, no,
how do you plan to regulate beyond damages?
Sir, we have to make them prove that the algorithm is neutral. Because we can also prove otherwise that the algorithm is biased. So let them prove it, and then we will also rebut it with our own evidence. That's the only way to go.
All right, I'll add some input here. The reason why Facebook has leaned so far left, so far Democrat as opposed to Republican right, is because of the fact that the offices of Facebook are based in San Francisco and New York, which are incredibly leftist. So they're
Liberal.
Liberal
leftist.
talaga, sobrang liberal. Like meaning if you're pro-Trump and you have, you're pro-guns, you're pro-religion, all these, you're anti-gay marriage, whatever, all these conservative views, they literally de-emphasize your posts dramatically. The reason why it's so important, in terms of a paramount attribute, it is the zenith and the apotheosis here in the Philippines, is specifically because Facebook is free. So that's the reason why, I'm a PR strategist for some of the top senators. When we strategize what platforms to use, barely any of us use Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube. It's all Facebook. You know why? Because it's free. It reaches A, B, C, D demographic, not E. You know what I mean? And it's such a...
Brother,
yeah.
It does not mean that because it is free, they are capable.
No, I agree.
They have the right to control our views, our expressions.
I completely agree, but that wasn't my point.
It's not actually free. I beg to disagree.
Go ahead.
It's not actually free. Because they are using us to earn money in our own country.
Our data.
Diba? Oh, they are using our data to earn. So
no,
it's
but
not actually free.
I agree with you entirely. But my point was, it's so important in the Philippines that it's neutral because Facebook is the main war zone. It's not Instagram. It's not YouTube. For social media, it's not Twitter. It's Facebook. Like if you do the percentages, probably 92% of people will get their news from Facebook as opposed to Twitter or Instagram or anything.
So
it has to be neutral.
Government should penalize these social media outfits if they lean towards one side or the other.
Correct.
That's what I see.
Want to contrast a bit, no? Because Mayor Sara Duterte, recently her page was, I think, either taken down or she cannot post because sabi ng Facebook, it was part of a network of spreading inauthentic material. Ang reaction ni Mayor Sara is to say, Facebook is a private company, wala kang magagawa, hindi ako mag-Facebook, okay lang. Yun yung parang attitude ni Mayor Sara sa balita. So, do you agree with that? Or we should really be more active in regulating social media?
Government should be more active in regulating social media. And government should side with the people, not with them. That's my views.
Yeah, okay.
Let's move on to...
One last thing. Sarah is right that it's a privately owned company and they can do whatever they want. But what I hate is they publicly say that they're the authority of the moral compasses of the world and they get to decide what's fake for them.
I object.
Sorry?
You said they're the moral authority.
No, that's what they publicly say.
Yeah.
Would if they said, yeah, we're a private company, we can do whatever we want. At least that's honest. But that's not what they're saying. They're saying
we regulate other private companies. So we can regulate private
anyone
companies.
operating within the jurisdiction of the Republic of the Philippines is subject to its laws and regulations.
Boom! All right. Jesus, let's move on to China.
Okay. You mentioned, sir, in your answers a while ago about the president's relationship with China, that I'm not sure if this is accurate of what you said, no, but we can't go to war with China. Did you mention that, sir?
I said we cannot afford to go to war with China because I know that we need to have a credible military in order to supplement our diplomatic efforts. Kasi kung hindi naman tayo credible ang military namin, hindi naman tayo re-respeto, including our diplomatic efforts. They go hand in hand. But what I mean is we cannot put inordinate sums of our resources to warfare just to fight with China because we need to build and improve on the lives of our people first. Yun ang ibig kong sabihin. Unahin muna natin yung ating mga kababayan, public housing, public infrastructure, facilities that we need to build a stronger community. Especially like for example, itong Train 2. They're removing the fiscal incentives because what we actually do is we encourage foreign investments to come here, and the only advantage we give them is the fiscal incentives. So bibigyan namin kayo ng tax holidays, ganito, ganyan, basta pumasok kayo in exchange for the jobs that we get. But what I am thinking is the long-term solution. We cannot continue giving fiscal incentives. We need to build on non-fiscal advantages for big businesses to come in. Ano yun? We're highly competitive. We have to build on a highly competitive workforce. We need to build on efficiencies in our public infrastructure. Ito yung mga non-fiscal incentives that make businesses make their decisions to come here, invest, and give jobs to our people. Hindi yung fiscal. So that's why, kung itong train to, that you suddenly remove them, you suddenly remove the fiscal incentives, then aalma yung mga big businesses, they move out, mawawala ng trabaho ang ating taong bayan. What I mean is, that's in the same way itong issue on South China Sea. We need to build first on our people, our capacities. In the future, if we have achieved that status that we have already invested so much on our people, we are already efficient, effective, productive, and we have more resources. If kung gusto natin makipagyera sa China at akong Pangulo, makikipagyera ako.
That sounds very practical,
Right.
sir, no?
Yep.
But of course, I think the military, when you will have to deliberate the budget, they will ask for you to keep on giving. The military right now is asking for more modernization, more budget to purchase such credible posturing for the military. So how will you balance that as a senator when in the Senate you're already asked by military officials, we still need the budget, we still need your help?
Actually, when I was congressman, tatlong priorities ko na sectors: teachers, soldiers, and policemen. Policemen and soldiers, buhay ang kapalit. Ang teacher naman, sakripisyo na yung pagturo doon sa mga bukid. When it comes to the military, of course, we need to give them the resources that they need to build on a credible military posturing. Kailangan natin.
Question, where are we going to get the money?
Where do we get the money? Nako, maraming pera ang gobyerno, ninanakaw lang ng mga politiko. Oo nga, maraming pera ang gobyerno, ninanakaw lang talaga ng mga politiko. Kaya nga, I keep on talking about stopping itong election fraud, because ito ang puno, ugat at dulo ng kahirapan nating mga kababayan ngayon. You see, kung ako, matinong kandidato, hindi ako mananalo dahil kailangan kong magbayad kay Smartmatic, Comelec. At pag nagbayad na ako, then I need to recover. First year, ano yun? Recovery of investment. Second year, return on investment. Third year, provision for reinvestment kasi may eleksyon na naman sa susunod. So, ayan.
Congressman lang yan, sir.
Okay, imagine, there are 1,400 municipal mayors, 200 city mayors, 80 governors, 300 congressmen, 24 senators. Anong matitira? How much money is lost to corruption every year? Ito nga lang example lang ito example. Itong road reblocking, yung road reblocking, yung kalsadang maayos pa, gigibain na naman para magsimento na naman. Marami dyan sa Quezon City. Oh, we have to stop that madness. Ito talaga, we have to stop that madness. Ang ayos-ayos pa ng kalsada. Ngayon, magdalagay na yan ng road yung breaker, tapos sisimintuhin na naman. Ilang milyon ang nawawala sa atin. May counterpart yan sa probinsya. Ang tawag doon, road resurfacing. Yung kalsadang hindi pa na semento, lubak-lubak pa, lalagyan niya ng base course. By the millions yan. Pag ikaw ang congressman, ikaw ang kontraktor, 50% sa'yo. So, kaya po, ito ang paboritong proyekto ng mga congressman doon sa probinsya. Paborito. Bakit? Pagdating ng ulan, wash out na yung materials, next year, ganun pa rin ang proyekto. Kaya walang nasimintong kalsada doon sa probinsya dahil ninanakaw ang pera ng gobyerno. Let's put a stop to this, and you have money for public housing, you have money for the military, you have money for everybody.
And then also like Yolanda Dingvaxia, SA 44.
Ibang usapan
MRT.
na yun,
Oh wait,
brother.
sorry.
That's really the extreme.
Non-partisan pala. Non-partisan pala. Okay.
Yolanda funds, nasa Marawi na yun.
That's the extreme.
Question.
Yes,
last question about China, then we'll move to marijuana. How often, how frequent, and how intensely do we have to keep caving to their demands in order for us not to go to war?
As far as I see, I'm not going to cave into their demands.
At all?
Give and take. What would you offer me in exchange for what I'm going to give you? That's how I will deal with them. Anong ibibigay mo sa akin para sa taong bayan? At anong ibibigay ko sa inyo? For as long as the interest of the public is protected and preserved, I would be willing to give in. Basta merong kaakibat na give us.
Sure.
O yun. Because my guiding principle is always what is for the best benefit of the people.
What will you ask, sir, that they can give?
Depende po. Kaya kukunin nyo yung isang isla, hindi ko ibibigay. Bakit ko ibibigay? O sige, kukunin mo yung isang isla ko, hihingi din ako ng isla sa'yo. Oh.
Paano kung gusto nila lahat, sir?
Lugi sila. Kasi ang buong China ang hihingin ko. Oh. Kunti lang ang makukuha niya. Well, I'm just speaking as a figure of speech. But that's what I intend to do.
That's fair. Okay. Let's move on.
Medical marijuana?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Just to be clear, sorry I was outside, but your stance on marijuana was you're pro-medicinal and anti-recreational.
Recreational.
Okay. But full disclosure, I know this topic inside out. Okay, so like I'm going to agree and disagree. Okay, on a couple of things. No one in the history of mankind has ever died from weed. No one ever. And there's there are 5 million people that die from lung cancer from cigarettes every year. That's a Holocaust every year, right? There are just in the U.S. there are 50,000 people who die of alcoholism. They literally drink themselves to death, right? Joe Rogan said the only way you can die from pot, from weed, is if somebody throws 50 kilos from an airplane and hits you in the head. That's literally the only way you can die from weed. It is the evidence is overwhelming that marijuana is. Not only is it well, I mean, it's like you should. I think as a human being, you should be allowed to do whatever you want to your own body as long as you're not hurting anybody else, right? Now, this is what happened in the United States when it got legalized in LA, in California, and in Colorado. In the first year, it was a $2 billion industry. Now it's $18 billion. What happened immediately was the drug trade was killed. Schools without art programs and sports programs now have them. People now have homeless shelter. The homeless have homeless shelters. Bridges were built and all that stuff. As long as it's taxed properly, you know what I mean. There's just so much benefits to it. Army veterans with PTSD, kids with epilepsy. The evidence is a mountain range. You know what I mean. So I think that if you're going to allow things like cigarettes and alcohol, it makes zero sense not to allow marijuana, whether it's medical or recreational. And I'll tell you why. Because drugs, I'm pro Duterte, anti-drug war. The reason why is drugs are not the problem. Addiction is the problem, right? Because you know what drugs are? Caffeine, sugar, cigarettes, alcohol, sleeping pills. Those are all drugs too. It's just that a prehistoric, archaic scientist from 80 years ago drew a line and said, these are legal, these are illegal. And now we know better. You know what I mean? We know better. So for me, I think economically it will help the Philippines very much, whether we go recreational or not. And morally, it's like, I think if you put somebody in jail for smoking a plant, you're the monster. You know what I mean? It's like, the evidence is overwhelming. It's undeniable at this point. So, I last year when I was in Congress last year, I was saying that medicinal marijuana was going to be legalized in the Philippines in 1 year, and everybody said, "Nah, Franco, it's not going to happen." I think we won by a super majority this year, 165-5 or something like that, right? And then President Duterte said he was for it, then he flip-flopped, said he was against it. Basically, the only thing that was in our way was the Senate, as usual. Tito Soto, who I kind of like now, was violently against it.
He's against it.
Yeah, but people like J.V. Hercito is really pushing for it because he's more knowledgeable about it. Can I get your opinion as to why you think recreational marijuana?
I must admit that I am ignorant of the subject matter.
Okay.
But I will keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Networking.
By the way, you gave the exact same answer, almost plagiarized Catriona Gray in Miss Universe. She was asked the exact same question, and she goes, "I'm pro-medicinal, recreational. We have to test it more."
I think as long as Attorney Glenn Chong sees the studies, that's all the other people are waiting the evidence.
I'd like to see the empirical data.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think that if you're below 18, there's no way you should smoke weed. No way, because you're all the way until you're 25, your cerebral cortex isn't fully formed yet. So, do it when you're an adult. Just like alcohol,
But also, Attorney Glenchong, you can't discount the fact, $18 billion is a big tax revenue by the government in the United States.
Wait.
You kill the drug trade.
I am not impelled to move by how much money the government can get. I am impelled to move, but what's the future? What's the effect of this decision for the future of more than 100 million Filipinos? It's always that way. Anong epekto ng gagawin natin today for the future of more than 100 million Filipinos? It's not about the money. It's not about the convenience. It's not about practicality. But what will be its effects for the future of more than 100 million Filipinos? That's always my guiding principle.
Okay.
That's very admirable.
Yeah, very. By the way, just for General Bato, I personally don't smoke weed. Just letting you know, I'm just advocating it.
You just visit other countries and it happens in other countries.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because I know the economics behind it, right?
I think we have time for open forum.
Yes, we do. But no, one last question.
Okay.
Because this is where Jesus and I are very good friends, different politics, but we're very good friends. This is where we diverge completely. Who won in 2016? BBM or Lenny?
Wait.
Because he's hardcore. He's obviously hardcore Lenny. I know BBM very well.
I love both these guys, but my answer would be based on what I see, what I have seen. In 2010, I was also ahead in the voting during the night by 2% of the votes cast. If you look at Bongbong Marcos' lead during the night, it was also 2% of the votes cast. I was overtaken in the morning of the next day at 4:46 in the morning. Bongbong Marcos was overtaken at 3:06 in the morning of the next day. Ang final na talo ko is 1/2 of 1%. Ang final na talo ni Bongbong Marcos is 1/2 of 1%. And the common denominator is Smartmatic. And you see, I have seen the evidence, yung 459 precincts that were transmitting one day before the elections, they have not been able to refute me. Nung Monday, this Monday, I wrote the COMELEC 3 letters. One is to open the door of the consulate or embassy when they are actually feeding the ballots of postal voting ballots into the machine. Because they're closing it. No, it cannot be. The election must be open, public, and transparent. The second letter I sent was for them to publicize the 17 regional hubs that they're going to place all across the country. In 2010, they put up 7, but they never informed the public, the candidates, and the political parties and the media. Nobody knew. It's where the SD cards can be replaced and reconfigured. The SD card is the equivalent of your ballot box. The moment it is removed from the machine and brought to the regional hubs for reconfiguration, we never know when it gets back, may lamang balota na yun. And according to a senior Smartmatic official, mission codes assigned to every municipal canvassing system and city canvassing system. Because I discovered that there were eight extra transmission codes that were hidden in Quezon province. I can identify them. Code 5606, 5606, 5609, 5611, 5612, 5613, 5614,
Sweet Jesus,
5626, and 5646. Walo yan. Now, remember, if you have an extra transmission code, you can simulate a whole canvassing system. You can cheat entire towns and entire cities, not just precinct. The SD card can be replaced. Ang daya doon, precinct level lang. Makina lang yan. Ilang boto lang yan. But if you have extra transmission codes, you can set up rogue canvassing systems. Entire cities, entire towns can be manipulated. And that's why I wrote the COMELEC those 3 letters. I'm giving them until Monday to comply. If not, I will run to the Supreme Court and ask for mandamos to compel them to release this information. What I want to do is ikoral natin si Smartmatic at si COMELEC this time. We box them in so that it will be very difficult for them to cheat these elections.
So, officially, go ahead.
Okay, wait. If you will really ask me, If you will really ask me, I discovered also yung serial number ng mga ballot images, they're jumping from one to the other. In Camarines Sur, 38,000 of those ballot images have jumping serial numbers. So ang tanong ko, bakit tumatalon-talon itong serial number ng ballot image? And Smartmatic could not answer. So on the basis of what I have seen, dahil konti lang ang lamang ni Leni Robredo ng presumptive vice president against the presumptive vice president against the
Why
the
don't you say
Protestant,
fake?
hinabol yun. That's how I see it. Hinabol yun.
All right. Okay. So,
Okay.
sorry. Question.
You finish your question.
Yeah. Okay. Are you because you're going to hardcore defend Lenny? Okay. All right. So it's just questions first, right? So the first was a statement. You're officially the senatorial candidate with the biggest balls. Right now, like you're gonna go up against the multi-billion peso
Yes,
scam company.
against the billionaire Smartmatic,
Correct.
and the 2 generals and the 3 colonels, and I'm still picking up a fight with other colonels.
And then the Comelec is being run by somebody appointed by Pinoy. Is it true?
Majority of them are still from the yellow regime.
All right. Okay. So here are my questions, one by one. Were there votes? The last election, it was May 8th.
May 9.
May 9.
The election was May 9.
Were there or were there not votes already coming in on May 8th, the day before, for Lenny? Were there votes coming in the day before election day for Lenny?
We cannot identify which candidate was benefited. What we can see is that these 459 machines were already asking the DNS server, where will we send our election results? That's what it meant.
Okay.
So, ang sabi ni Comelec, testing yan. But when you look at the logs of the other system, it did not show there. Hindi ko nagpakita yon doon. Ang tingin ko ganito yan. These fake machines were transmitting fake results to the 8 canvassing systems ng mga peke. The one I discovered in Quezon Province. So itong 459 machines, they're fake machines. They were transmitting results one day before the elections to the 8 canvassing systems na mga fake. Kumbaga, they were parked there. Park ka muna dyan. On the day of the elections, while you were all voting, just after the last ballot is cast, yung fake na canvassing systems na may mga lamang fake results, they will transmit to the true VCM. So that the fake results are transmitted to the true VCM, it replaces the true results, and the fake results are transmitted to the true canvassing system, masquerading as the true result.
All right.
So that's how it is.
I got it. Okay, so obviously extremely complicated, right? That was my problem last year when I was helping BBM with the social media.
Very technical.
Very technical. The Smartmatic was created by some incredibly intelligent con men because it's so easily obfuscatable. Meaning like, because there's so many, it's multi-nuanced, multi-layered, that it's so hard to explain to the public all these technicalities, including the Supreme Court, right? So I'm just going to ask very basic questions. Is it true that, because in the U.S., I think if you're ahead by 60% of the vote, they close the vote. Because mathematically, you can't catch up anymore, right? Is it true that Bongbong was ahead by over 80%? Like, okay, in the U.S., if you're ahead by 60% of the vote,
yes,
I think they close the vote.
Yes,
because
okay.
It's mathematically highly improbable for you to catch up, right?
Okay.
Is it true that BBM at one point was already ahead by 80%?
Oh no. The way what I saw is Bongbong Marcos was ahead by 945,043 votes. 943,045 votes.
And then naka-blackout.
That's the highest margin that BBM had. Before this was overtaken by 11,000 precincts. There were 11,000 precincts that were transmitting so late. Mm-hmm. Natapos ang halalan at 5 o'clock. But they were transmitting only at 10, 11, and 12 in the evening. So ang tawag ko doon, these are reserved precincts. The purpose is, tingnan muna kung gaano kalawak yung lamang, yung maximum plausible position ng winning candidate. Then, yung 11,000 precincts, yun yung gagamitin mo to recover, to wipe out the margin of the of the winning candidate
Sorry, Jesus.
para maubos.
I'll just follow up with one last
Now,
point.
ito po, sir.
Oh, go ahead.
Ito po, sir, ma'am. If you look at all the precincts of Bongbong Marcos where he won only by an average of 18 votes per precinct. 18 votes per precinct. But if you look at the 11,000, the last 11,000 precincts na naipanalo ni Leni Robredo, she was winning by 46 votes per precinct, 3 times than the average of Bongbong Marcos. So you get what I mean?
Yeah.
The average for Bongbong Marcos is 18 votes per precinct. But for Leni Robredo, the last 11,000, 46 votes per precinct ang panalo niya on the average. 3 times than that of Bongbong Marcos. To my mind, hinabol talaga to.
All right. Okay. So we all know Bongbong won the North vote, the South vote, the OFW vote, and the Iglesia vote, right? So in my mind, it's impossible that Lenny could match that. Now, when he was at his peak in the voting thing, when the blackout happened for an hour or whatever, 2 hours?
There were actually three blackouts.
How much did Bongbong's lead dip, and how much did Lenny get to catch up during the blackouts?
What I found out is yung updates po from the transparency server beginning at around 10:30. The first time yung lamang ni Bongbong na 943,045 votes, nabawasan yun ng about 300,000 in one update. 300,000. Then the next one was I think it was 200,000, then 150. Yeah, yun. 300,000 ang first, then 200,000, then 150. Then the last update, nanalo na po si Leni Robredo ng 555 votes at 3:06 in the morning.
All right. Okay,
Attorney,
so Jesus?
Of course, Attorney Glenn, there are so many technical things you're discussing, no? After 3 years, this issue has been litigated in public with you as a forefront or in the forefront, and of course with Senator Bongbong and his lawyers discussing it in public, along with Lenny and her lawyers. My question is, as a simple person, no? Of course, I'm a lawyer, but there are technical details you were discussing. I'm sure there are also other experts. There are other people who can validate your claims. As a simple person, ang inisip ko po, bakit hindi naniniwala? You went to the Senate for the investigation about the alleged fraud. In the Supreme Court, this is being litigated in the electoral protest. Yung kay Secretary Tolentino with the Lima, na-dismiss because winidraw po niya. Pero sinabi din ng Senate Electoral Tribunal, they found no proof of cheating. So ako po, as a simple person, kahit hindi po ako abogado, inisip ko, bakit wala masyadong naniniwala sa inyo on the level of the policy makers? So, leto po bang mga senador, hindi naniniwala? Mayroon ba silang agenda, Supreme Court,
Because
etc.?
the senators cheated too.
Simple lang ang sagot ko. Yung mga senador na yan, ang daya yan, kaya nung nanalo. They will
Absolutely.
not want to open the ballots. Simple lang talaga ang sagot ko sa kanila.
No question.
Simple lang ang sagot ko sa kanila. They are afraid to open the ballots because they know that they cheated. Yung sinabi po ni Serge Osmeña, 8 candidates for senator paid 50 million in 2016. What I can attest is that
How much?
8 senators paying 50 million pesos each to make it to the Senate. Now this I can attest.
Well,
On May 2 of 2016, I came from a poll watchers training in Tarlac. Nandun na po ako sa SLEX. I received a text from my informant around 5 o'clock that afternoon. May 9 ang eleksyon. 1 week exactly. That was a Monday. Ang sinabi niya, itong 7 na pangalan, sigurado na itong mananalo. Nagbayad na to. Pero sabi niya, wait for another. Baka may hahabol pa rito. The 7 names, pagkatapos ng halalan, were all winners.
I can make a very accurate guess as to who those 8 senators are. Just based, some of them got more votes than President Duterte.
Okay.
But that's mathematically possible, ha?
No, it's not.
That is
How is
mathematically
No, wait,
possible.
Wait, guys. Ganito. Sinabi nila na ang senator dapat taas ang boto because 12 naman ang pagpipilian. Di po ba? 12 ang pagpipilian. Siyempre, may lalamang talaga ng senator. Now, look at the ratio. How many candidates were there for president? Ilan ba? 5. Okay, there were 5 candidates for president. You can choose only one. On the other hand, for the senator, you can choose 12. But there were also 60 candidates. So, 60 ba? Tama?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
60.
around about, yeah.
So the ratio for senators is the same ratio for the president. 5 to 1. 5 kandidato, pumili ka ng isa. Sa senator, 60 candidates, pumili ka ng 12. It's also 5 to 1. So therefore, I don't believe na yung sa senador dapat sumipa. Pare-pareho lang yun dapat. Pero sumipa po si Drilon, questionable po yun.
Well, okay.
Of course, since you invited me here, Franco, no, just in my mind, Attorney Glenn,
Go,
no,
go, go, go.
hindi ako math expert. No, but the explanation of the experts in that, there are 50 plus million registered voters. If all of them voted for the same senatorial candidate, it is possible for one candidate to have 50 million votes.
But
versus sa president, na it's a zero-sum game.
Sure,
So,
but I can
Wait.
see your point. But,
Wait,
go
wait,
ahead.
guys.
Okay, go ahead.
So can you answer that?
Okay, look at the external factors. Beyond the mathematics, look at the external factors.
That's what I was going to say.
President Duterte was extremely popular.
Fuck yeah.
Si Drilon, hindi po. Wala ngang nagawa eh. Oh. So, look at the disparity. Look at the disparity. President Duterte was way, way too popular. May mga sako pa nga siyang may mga sako pa siyang tarpaulins. Not tarpaulins, but campaign materials. But look at Drilon. Natutulog lang dun sa Senado. Yet, I find it incredulous and unbelievable na siya mo yung mag-number 1. Di po ba?
Wait, let me piggyback with that really quickly, okay? You're completely underestimating the phenomenon of Duterte. We have never had a president this popular, ever. That is fact. Obama at his peak never reached an 87% approval rating. Putin, who's a god king in Russia, never came close to 87%. Duterte is easily, indisputably, mathematically the most popular president we have ever had. Right?
It's a democracy.
I'm sorry, it's true. It's true. Now, wait, hold on. What I know from my insiders is that the leader of the LP is not Mar, it's not Pinoy, it's definitely not Lenny. It's Frank Drilon. And I think
Kiko.
Yeah, well, no, that's not what I hear. But anyway, let me say this very quickly. I think Frank Drilon's a genius. I think he's incredibly smart. I'm from the opposition, but whenever I would have conversations with people that know him, like BBM or whatever, they really
hold him in high regard.
They hold him in very high regard.
Even BBM.
He's respected because, I used to think he was savage and super intelligent, like brutal and brilliant. In my mind, he was like the perfect Bond villain. And then my father went up to me on my birthday last February, and he said, "I understand your job. I understand what you're doing, but whatever you do, don't hit Frank Drilon." And I thought it was because he was like this, villainous, merciless guy. And I asked him why not, and my dad goes, "Because Frank is a really good human being." I was like, "What? Really?" I go, wait, sorry, let me finish. And he goes, "You don't know this, but ever since you were a kid, Frank was always so kind to your grandmother and whatever. And people respect him and all that stuff." So for me, I have nothing against Frank, but I think it's undeniably absurd that he got 20 million votes and Duterte got 16 million. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all.
Brother, if I may add, I have not encountered a person who said he voted for Frank Drilon. Sorry.
All right, just for the sake of objectivity, I want everybody to know that we invited Lenny Robredo today, and we invited Mar Rojas and Bam Aquino. Bam Aquino didn't want to touch me with a 10-foot pole. I don't know why, but I've never even said anything bad about Bam. But we did invite them to come. They declined because we really wanted this to be nonpartisan. So that's basically it. Are you happy asking?
I think I just have one last question.
Go ahead,
brother.
Because I'm concerned if you're my senator and if you win, you'll be my senator. You'll have to work with the other senators. But your accusations are very serious. My question is, how will you work with these other senators, given that maybe they will hear you have attacked them, that you don't trust them? How will you be able to work with the senators?
I was asked the same question by Thinking Pinoy when he interviewed me.
Because parang, di ba, dating kanina, sir, nandaya sila, si Franklin Drilon natutulog. So how can you work?
Ay, ganito po. I'm not going to dance their tune. I'll be very clear about that. Hindi ako makikipagkompromiso sa kanila pagdating ng mga interest at issue ng bayan. Hindi ako makikipagkompromiso and I will not dance with them. Ganito lang po. Kung itong legislation is for the people, for the best interest of the people, ayaw niyong suportahan dahil si Glenn Chong, I will go back to the people. I will campaign against them in the next election. Yun. Dito ka makakakita ng senador nakakampanya laban sa kanyang fellow senator because they are traitors to the interest of the Filipino people.
Wow.
So in other words, this is going to be a confrontational personality if only to extract the best interest of our people. To protect the best interest of our people.
All right, so Mr. Falsis, you basically asked what Stephen Hawking is to astrophysics, Glenn Chong is to voter fraud. Are you satisfied?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's not about me being satisfied. It's about the people hearing their senator, their future senator.
You love Lenny so much, don't you?
It's not about my love. It's not about me. I'm not the one running.
No, I'm sure she's a sweet girl. Anyway, we went over an hour because this is a fascinating conversation. So we'll take 2 questions. Anybody from the audience? Town Hall Q&A. 2 questions. Miguel Sihuko, please. I got you, bro.
Good evening, sir.
Hello. Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good luck with your candidacy.
Thank
I
you,
just
sir.
have a question. I really appreciate what you're saying about how you take support from regular Filipinos and not from the oligarchs and the trapos. Given that we are Asia's oldest democracy, we are still very much a democracy, but we are, to my mind, a very fake democracy. Almost 80% of all of our positions are ruled by dynasties. It's like Game of Thrones. I think the numbers are, we have 78% dynasties in Congress, 81% of the governorships are ruled by families, 70% of all mayoralties are ruled by dynasties. If you took out all of the dynasties in the local government level, you would have 25% of all positions possibly occupied by new blood, by young people, perhaps with good ideas. Because we live in a democracy, I believe that we should be able to, without power, without celebrity, with just a good idea and integrity, we should be able to run like you are for public office. But we all know in this room that that's impossible. You need to have some sort of connections, you need to play the game. What will you do, sir, for us regular Filipinos who want to participate in our democracy to be able to fight these dynasties? Will you support an anti-dynasty bill in the legislature? And how will you fight on our behalf to be able to empower the rest of us?
Sir.
Thank you, Miguel Sihuko. Great question.
The first time I won an election, that was against a political dynasty. So I'm showing to the people that nothing is impossible. We can achieve something that is so difficult to achieve if you only have sheer guts and determination and the will to fight. And of course, faith in God. Now, actually, part of the reason why I'm fighting for clean, honest, and transparent elections is that I really want to recruit new blood. Gusto ko pong maghubog ng panibagong mga leaders, young leaders. Kasi po, sorry po sa mga matatanda, matitigas na po ang ulo nila. So I would rather get young leaders, idealistic ones, who share the same vision as I have. And let's chart a course for our country for the future. So ganito po, in 2022, kung mananalo po ako ngayon in 2022, I will have no elections. Hindi naman ako tatakbo. So I will use that time to campaign for these young leaders that they can win as local government officials, as congressmen and governor. This is our group that follows the same vision for our country. That's one thing I want to do. And I can recruit you, sir, if you want. On the other hand, with respect to, give it a try. Now, on the other hand, with respect to legislation, I'm also cognizant of the fact that merong families that really deliver public service. But in most cases, political dynasties are intended to hold on to power, to cover for their corruption. Kasi po, ganito yan. Pag ako ang tatay at natalo ako, ang mga tao ko walang pupuntahan kung ang kalaban ang uupo. Kaya kailangan ko na merong mga kasama ditong congressman, gobernador, para yung tao ko hindi mawawala, mapupunta sa kanila. That's actually its political survival. That's why dynasties abound. The other one is to cover for their corruption. Alam mo, ang ombudsman, hindi yan kakaso, hindi kakasuhan, hindi iimbestigahan habang may political power pa ang pamilya. Iimbestigahan nila yan, kakasuhan nila yan pag natalo na. So kaya ang politiko ayaw magpatalo. Kung matalo man, at least may anak pa siya, may asawa pa siya na public official to give him a sort of protection from prosecution by the ombudsman. That's how the system works. That's why we have political dynasties. For political survival and for their own protection. Ito yung dalawang reasons why political dynasties is a must for these families. Now, if we go into legislation, we need to change the Constitution. We really need to change the Constitution, put it there. That's one thing. But on the other hand, we can also strengthen... Sir? No, nakalagay kasi sa Constitution is that political dynasties may be defined by law. If there is no enabling law, then you cannot implement it. And you can... Yes, sir. But you need to elect more glanchongs to be able to fight because they have the number. Kung ako lang mag-isa, hindi pa rin pwede. That's why, ang nakikita ko, clean the election system, put more people you can trust, get the numbers, and then we can slowly change our country.
I completely agree. Sorry, I have to cut you off because one more question. Yeah, by the way, just a side note, I hate it when people say that we can't change the amendment. It's called an amendment. It's like we're allowed to change it. Sorry, I'm gonna.
You know what? Okay, we have to get our acts together. If we need to change our constitution, we need to change our constitution. But I think you need to find a person you can trust before you can change the constitution, because everybody distrusts everybody, di ba? Oh, hindi. Kaya we cannot get over the issue eh. Kasi pag si ito ang nakaupo, pag niya yung sariling interest, wag na nating ayusin to. Wag na natin. I think we have to start somewhere. Siguro, sa susunod na presidential election, makinig tayo kung mayroong isa dyan na ang plataforma niya ay baguhin ang eleksyon. Baguhin ang constitution, and then, kung gusto natin, iboto natin yung tao na yan.
Alright, sorry Glenn, I gotta cut you off. We're way over an hour. One last question, and then we have to go to CNN. I'm so sorry. What's your name?
Tamara.
Hi, Tamara.
Hi.
Hi, ma'am.
Hey, hi, Glenn. We watch you from New York every day, and we sit through the senatorial hearings and everything about Smartmatic. And my question actually is about Smartmatic. How can something so obvious, like being banned in other countries, and with the evidence that you showed, like the lines and in the digital whatever voting things, and right now we want to box them for like the Supreme Court. How are you going to do that? Like, can you explain to me, since the machines are just sending, where do we send the information? Is there anything that's concrete that it actually sent information about voting ballots to the other side before the voting really happened?
Thank you, Tamara. Brother, please keep it short because we have a...
Yes, ma'am. Ganito yan. The law requires that 12 months after the last election, Congress must comprehensively assess the previous elections, the technology used. So, ibig sabihin, if nag-election tayo noong 2016, dapat by 2017, nagsimula na ang hearing sa Senado for a comprehensive assessment, evaluation, and examination of the system that was used in 2016. Ang ginagawa po nitong Senado natin at Kongreso, hindi yan mag-hearing 12 months after the elections, mag-hearing yan 12 months before the next elections. So paglabas po ng mga anomalya, irregularidad, ang palaging sagot, wala na pong time, susunod na lang na time. So they did it in 2010, they did it in 2013, they did it in 2016. Ngayon, ang sabi na naman nila, nag-hearing sila ngayon, July 31, 2018. That's 10 months before the next elections. Ang sagot nila nung lumabas ang mga balita, nung lumabas ang mga ebidensya, wala nang time eh. Sa 2022 na lang, palitan na natin si Smartmatic. If we take the same bait, pag 2022 si Smartmatic pa rin. That's the key. That's what they have been doing. Pero pag nilagay nyo si Glenn Chong dyan, sa susunod na buwan, wala na yan.
Alright. Beautiful. So, two things before we say goodbye. Jesus, haha, I told you she cheated. Okay, the second thing is...
Stop whispering.
Glenn, thank you for everything.
Brother,
I wish you the
really-
best of luck.
Thank you.
Kill the debate on CNN, okay? All right?
Thank you very much. I have to run to
Fantastic
see it.
job.
Guys,
Fantastic.
thank you so much.
See you, buddy. Take care. Once again, I'd like to emphasize this over and over and over. We invited Lenny to come. She declined. Bam declined. Mar actually said yes, I think, till Saturday. And then, and then he
Backed out?
He backed out also.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but we did try to invite
They're
her.
afraid of you.
No, they're really not. Probably annoyed. Okay, next up we have a legitimate powerhouse.
Top-notcher.
Yeah, absolutely. He is the 28th Senate President of the Philippines from 2016 to 2018. He is also the current President of the Partido Demokratiko Filipino Lakas ng Bayan. My Tagalog is horrible.
PDP Laban.
PDP Laban, yes. As the eldest son and third child of the former Senate President, Aquino Pimentel Jr., he is the first child of a previous Senate President to hold the post. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Coco Pimentel. All right.
So the next candidate is for charter change because Senator Coco Pimentel supports federalism. And that can only be done if you change the constitution.
I used to be pro-federalism. Now I'm not sure. It sounds expensive.
Is it because of Mayor Sara who said she doesn't support it?
No,
recently.
It's because of Enrile. And because Enrile says that it'll cost too much.
It's not necessary.
It's a budget thing. It's a budget thing. I mean, it'll help for sure, but parliamentary will be much better.
We'll get to hear, I think, from Senator Coco then why federalism is still important and necessary.
I agree. Ladies and gentlemen, what about a round of applause for one of the stars of tonight? Sas Rogando Sasot. Come here. Come here. I flew this superstar on my own pocket just so she could come debate today. Give me a hug, baby. And then another superstar from a completely different space, the best R&B and R&B artist and rapper in the country today. I think the second best performer after Gary Valenciano. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Quest. He'll be performing later also. Yo, Sass, where you are? Okay, bye. So
she's reserving her energy for the debate later.
For the war.
I think our viewers online are very excited for the debate between.
I'm curious though if the yellows are hitting us or I want to.
Everyone's watching.
But is it positive?
Well, it's both positive and negative for the ones who are against one of the sides.
Yeah, we can't get full positive if it's in the
But everyone's excited.
I agree. I totally agree. Is Senator Coco ready? Jesus.
Yeah.
Dance.
So, for all the viewers online and for everyone here, thank you for coming and watching. It's going to be exciting because Darian and Sass just recently fought again. I don't know if you you caught that, no? Because they were making up online and Franco was making them on good terms. Like, the other girls not that bad. You should be friends and just debate and talk. But lately there was an issue with the publicity and then now they're already also like very spiced up to really beat each other. Kasi initially it was going to be a bit more laid back because they were already being nice with each other. But now the fire is back. They're ready to hate on each other. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be an intellectual debate. Very fierce from Sass, but very firm from Darian. Because they really have different views from each other. Who here is a supporter? I'm guessing there are fewer supporters of Richard Darian than Sass. So I'll ask first, who here is a supporter of Richard Darian? Can you raise your hand? I see some hands. I see hands. Okay. Eh, I don't want to say the number. It's not the quantity. Di ba? It's not about the quality as well. As long as you have supporters, you have supporters, di ba? And one of the supporter is Duterte blogger. Supports Hey Darian. But I'm sure this Duterte blogger also supports SAS.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I was surveying how many Richard Hidarian supporters are here.
Good question. How many?
No, okay, let's repeat it for Franco. So, let's repeat it for Franco. Who here supports Richard Hidarian? Raise your hands. Oh, dumami! It got more.
Dumami, I see like 6 hands.
Yon. Yeah, I see it. I see it better.
Absolutely. Thank you. Exactly.
We're just...
You're right. You're absolutely right. Never be loyal to people in politics. Be loyal to policy. That's the rule. You know what I mean? You can agree.
We're just stirring up drama. All right?
Yes. All right, everybody. One more time. Former Senate President, our good friend, Coco Pimentel. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause.
Good afternoon, everybody. So let me now answer your questions. What is your stance on medicinal and recreational marijuana? Well, step on the brakes. Let us step on the brakes and study what is happening in other countries, because in the US and in Europe, there are some jurisdictions which have already allowed even recreational use of marijuana. Maybe they know something we do not know. But still, we are not yet knowledgeable enough. So step on the brakes, okay, on recreational use. Bawal pa po yan, ha? Let me remind you that's still against the law, especially with the focus of the current administration on its all-out war against drugs. That is included. But on medicinal use or medical use, let us start research and debate. But as of the moment, let us not allow it because we are not yet prepared, especially when it comes to law enforcement. This might be the loophole which can be used to weaken the President's war, all-out war on drugs. Because, if you allow medicinal use, then you allow planting and harvesting. And some of the harvested material might end up being used recreational or by addicts. And then the second question I want to answer would be, should politicians prioritize internet speed over other pressing issues? I would say yes, because internet access as well as the quality or the speed is itself a pressing issue. So because it affects productivity, it affects social networking, the connection of families, communication between the OFW and the family left behind in the Philippines. So it is also a pressing issue. It's very important, especially when we know that other countries have faster internet speed than the Philippines. Therefore, technology is already there. It is not to be invented anymore. It's available. So basic question is, how come we still do not have it here in the Philippines? So short answer is, it is itself a pressing issue, hence we should address it. The third question I would like to answer is, how involved should the church be in government affairs? Well, I am aware of the constitutional principle of separation between church and state. Church leaders, church members, as Filipino citizens, have the right to comment on government policies, on what is going on in the country, as citizens of the Republic of the Philippines. But as church leaders, let us observe separation of church and state. Kasi actually, church leaders are expected to read the holy book, the Bible, every day. But if you ask them, do they read the Constitution every day? The most likely answer is no. So, the question is, are you even competent enough to comment officially as a church leader or as a church on government policy? So, although my interpretation of separation of churches and state is not that there is a great wall of China between church and state, church is allowed to cooperate with state, state is allowed to cooperate with church, but it should be cooperation. Okay? And then the general principles of this constitutional concept is that the state should avoid establishing a church or a religion, should avoid assisting a certain chosen church or religion, because that would be, if you choose one, that would be detrimental to those not chosen. So these are the basics of the constitutional concept of separation of church and state. So to summarize, church leaders, church members are welcome to join the debate of policy as citizens of the Republic of the Philippines. Just remember that, as citizen, you are welcome to join. And when I say debate, you are not obligated to criticize. You can also praise, and you can also agree. That's part of the political discourse of a state, of a country. So thank you very much. So what's next? What is next? So, any questions? Oh, the South China Sea, of course, we have to protect. The West Philippine Sea. We have to pursue and protect our entitlements under international law. But, there is no world sheriff or world policeman. We should be conscious of that. So, but there are established mechanisms under treaties, existing treaties, on how states should relate to each other. So, filing a protest is allowed. So, we use diplomatic mechanisms for that. Okay, so I think the second is his speech. So, but well, my friends, my dear friends, I am running for re-election as a senator because although we have done a lot, we have actually, as the Senate President, as the party mate of President Duterte, when I was the Senate President, I made sure that his campaign promises would be delivered to the people, especially those needing laws. Okay? Needing laws, because I am in the legislature. Those needing executive action, that is his responsibility. Those needing legislative action, I tried my best to deliver all or most of the campaign promises of the President. So I can actually claim, I can actually say that in less than 2 years, we already gave all of the 2016 campaign promises of President Duterte to the people, the legislative promises. For example, during the campaign, he said education should be free. So we passed a law. That's already law, the Free Education Act. He said irrigation should be free. We also gave that. He said lower personal compensation income taxes. We also delivered that. Because of his focus on law and order, he also said, let us increase the base pay of the police and the military. We also gave that. Let's fix the problem of red tape. We passed the Anti-Red Tape Act of 2017. And as a bonus, we lengthened the effectivity of the driver's license to 5 years, passports to 10 years, to help our OFWs so that they need not frequently apply for passports. So all of these campaign promises were delivered with additional some additional bonus laws which were also which I deemed beneficial to the people, like the free internet, National School Feeding Program, Mental Health Act, Anti-Hospital Deposit Law. These were not promised, but since these are also good for the people, we also prioritize them. And then just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, the President still continues to deliver his campaign promises like Universal Health Care Act, as well as the composition of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority. So we have done a lot, but our country, my dear countrymen, my dear friends, has a lot of problems. Hindi pa po tapos ang ating trabaho. Our mission is to fix the problems of our country. We need to support the President during the second half of his term. So we need a supportive legislature, especially a Senate. So I have proven myself to be a good soldier of President Duterte, a good soldier of the party. I am a worker for the legislative program of the party. And if re-elected as a senator, I will continue what I have been doing. So with a special focus on law and order and justice, because I am a lawyer and I am aware of the problems of the justice system, and I'm aware of the importance of justice and law and order for the economic development of our country. I would liken the justice system as the runway in the airport, and the country as the airplane. The airplane can never take off if the runway is not fixed, is not trustworthy, is not strong enough to support the takeoff of the airplane. So same with the country. Philippines will never take off if we cannot have a reliable, trustworthy, and working justice system. So we have to focus on that, and of course law and order, because who will invest in a country which does not have law and order? And as my personal contribution to this problem of corruption, I have shown you with my track record, I have never been involved in any corruption issue. And if I'm allowed to serve again as a senator, I will continue with my high standard of public service, that no involvement in corruption. But the solution to corruption actually is in the hands of the people. Because I believe that the people deserve the government they elect. Hence, if you do not like corruption, there are 62 candidates for senator. I'm sure you can find 12 who are not tainted with the issue of corruption. So just do that first step. So in this election, choose from 1 to 12 senator, and avoid those tainted with corruption. That is our first step in solving this intergenerational problem or perennial problem of corruption in the Philippines. So hopefully, all of these things, ayusin natin, I can see that we will finally really take off, and the Philippines will now attain its full potential as a nation and as a country. So thank you very much, my dear friends. Thank you.
Senator Coco Pimentel. Have a seat, sir. Attorney Jess. In the middle, sir. Franco Mabanta will join us for a while. Yes. You can sit in the middle, sir. Okay. Good evening. Water for the senator. Like a seasoned senator talking about many laws as a Senate President. While you're recovering your energy, sir, no? My question will first be towards a lot of senators, the re-electionists. Their strategy is to highlight one specific law that they can associate with themselves. Senator JV is trying to take healthcare. Senator Bam is taking free education. How do you simplify to the people why they should vote for you? Because there are so many laws you mentioned, but they cannot associate this is a Coco Pimentel law. What's your strategy?
During the campaign, a candidate can focus on one issue. But in reality, because I've been there, I'm an incumbent senator, the work of a senator is not a single issue work. That's why I have chosen as my campaign slogan, use your kokote. So it's really actually a characteristic. It is not an issue, but it is a characteristic.
What is that line? Use your
kokote.
I love that.
Meaning to say, Meaning to say, let us put people in the Senate or any position of leadership, especially a lawmaking position, who can, the assumption is, of course, you love your country and you want to solve the problems, but you must have the mental capacity to be able to analyze the situation, research the information that you need, and then come up with a workable or reasonable solution to the problem.
All right.
So, I am not a single issue candidate, but I harped on the characteristic that at least I have proven that I can use my kokote.
Okay, I love that. I think Juan Ponce really is doing the exact same thing. Medyo chapsuy, the campaign, doing multiple issues. I think that your campaign slogan is probably the second best one now. After Larry Gadon's Bobo Ka. I think it's the second best one. I would like to... Okay, if I
Can
may...
you use it, Senator, noong 2010 or 2013?
2013.
Kokote din, di ba? Okay.
All right. So really quickly. I'm currently taking a master class with David Axelrod, who did Obama's campaign, and Karl Rove, who did George Bush's campaign. And in our second class, they were educating us by saying every candidate that won focused on one central issue. And when they got attacked, they would viciously fire back, but always pivot back to the issue. Because you need to stand for something very clear and apparent for people to get behind you, right? So now your strategy is you're going to tackle many things. I think as a senator, absolutely. You're gonna tackle civil issues, military issues, economic issues, all that stuff. But when you're running, like the best in the world say, focus on one issue. Is there, among all the things that you've been talking about, is there one that is at the top of the mountain, or the closest to your heart?
You know, I am a scientist by heart. I am a BS Mathematics graduate, so I'm willing to experiment. I have heard that theory, you have to have one issue. But let me experiment with my candidacy. So it is not really a single issue candidacy, but it is a single characteristic candidacy. But then, if I am asked, what would be your focus advocacy, I will, since I am a lawyer also, I would say it would be the justice system. Because of my analogy of justice system being the runway, the country being the airplane, and we need a sturdy, reliable, trustworthy runway before the country, the airplane can take off.
Go ahead, Jesus. Yeah.
Yes. You mentioned, Senator, that you're a good soldier of, that's what I heard in your last minutes, no? That you're a good soldier of President Duterte. A lot of the agendas of President Duterte have been delivered under your stewardship in the Senate. But in the online scene, there are some Duterte supporters who I might say, and some of them have been wanting us to ask this of you, some of them are disenchanted with Coco Pimentel, who is part of PDP Laban, but who's really allied with President Duterte. They're separating you, sir, from President Duterte. What do you think made them disenchanted? They're saying on the issue of federalism, on the issue of election fraud, it seems you don't echo the same things that they do. How do you reach out?
So sorry, before you answer, I'll piggyback on that.
Connect.
Is there like a scandal, but is there like a black ops push that's trying to attach you to the Liberal Party now?
Maybe these people criticizing me have been influenced by politicians who are of course against me. So, but actually on federalism, we are solid with President Duterte. What's the other issue? What did you say?
I mean, how do you? What's your message, sir? Kasi online there are many saying we're disenchanted.
So just be careful. Do not believe everything that you read. Sometimes I see an infographics with my picture and then with a quotation. I never said those words. Sabi ko, we have to clarify. I never said these things. And then
wait. So we shouldn't believe everything on the internet.
Yeah, we should not believe everything. That's what I teach my two young boys. Do not believe everything you read, you watch,
and on social media.
On social media or on the internet. So ganun po yun. Especially when, politicians may be behind the attacks. Maybe preparing for 2022, preparing for 2019, etc. Basta ganito. No? Look at my actions. When I was Senate President, what were the first laws which were passed? And were these campaign promises of President Duterte? What would be the best testimony of loyalty and support to our president other than prioritizing his campaign promises? Ang ginawa ko pa nga, I listed down all the campaign promises. Those without a bill, I wrote the bill, provided the bill. Lowering of personal income taxes, that is my bill. His anti-crime crusade, abolition of the road board, that is my bill. Bangsamoro organic law, I also co-authored that bill. So that they will move. So that they will move quickly. And it is not by accident that bills on campaign promises were the first passed. Hindi po nangyari aksidente yan. Ginamitan din po yan ng diskarte or strategy. Kaya use your kokote.
All right. Okay. So you are in a precarious position now in the polls. You're number 10. Number 10, 9 to 11, basically, right?
Which is quite sad for me, no? Kasi a lot of the working senators who pass a lot of bills seem to be on the precarious side.
No, but this is my point. I don't know.
It should not be.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys know Okay, so when Sonny Angara went from number 3 to number 6, I texted him. I'm like, hey, congratulations, man. Now you won't get hit anymore. And he's like, haha, because this is what happens. The Senate, I think, is even harder than the presidency in terms of running because it's a zero-sum game. When you move up, someone necessarily has to move down. That's why it's vicious and brutal, and people try to push you down or pull you down, right? So the dangerous spots are 1 to 3. Because the 1 to 3, it's a very clear indication if you could run for the presidency the next term. The really, really, really dangerous spots are 9 to 18 probably, because that's where all the black ops happens, all the attacks, all the lies, because it's desperation time, right? You're stuck right there in one of the most dangerous spots. You're safe because if you're in, I don't know, 4 to 7 or something like that. That's why Angara's not getting hit anymore. Miraculously, Imy's not getting hit as much because she's in a safe spot, but right there. Are you going to run a clean campaign, even if you're being attacked by constant lies and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's the PDP Laban, my party's politics. No dirty tricks. Run a clean campaign, and I'm really not that worried even if they attack me because I know I can answer, I can reply, but I just cannot reply to invented facts or invented fake news or quotations which are invented. So we just have to clarify those are lies, etc. And then I'm also confident about the capability of my political party to help us. The Mabago ko to. We are 5 senatorial candidates of PDP Laban. Mabago ko to. Yeah. Because the party is fielding 10,000, not less than 10,000 candidates in this particular election.
What?
Yeah, with
in the local.
All in all, with 54 governors, 130 plus congressmen, 17 highly urbanized city mayors, plus the vice governor, vice mayor, and the councilors, all in all around 10,000. So this is a formidable machinery, all under their oath of membership to the party, all obligated to help bring and ensure the victory in their areas of responsibility of the 5 PDP Laban senatorial candidates.
Mabago ko to, which is
Mangudadato, Mangudadato, Bato de la Rosa, Go Bongo, Coco Pimentel, and To is Francis Tolentino.
Why don't those other guys arrive today? No, anyway, look.
But that sounds catchy, Mabago ko to. Change is coming with President Duterte.
All right. Unfortunately, we just ran out of time. We're going to do town hall for the audience. 2 questions because we're in a rush. But I'm going to, because you're my friend, I'm going to help you get a couple more votes. Yes. Tell me the very best or funniest story about President Duterte personally.
Funniest story? No. The best story actually is this. When he won, he had a 1-week break. So I visited him after the break in Davao City. The first time he saw me, he asked me, bakit kaya ako nanalo? I did not know how to answer the question of the person, the proclaimed winner of the presidential election. So that is very memorable, and that is actually the correct question that every elected public official should ask. Why did I win? Answer that question and deliver your answer to the people. Yun. So that is what I did. So that's when he asked me that question. That is why when I became Senate President, I prioritized campaign promises because I answered him, let's look at your campaign promises.
I wanted something funnier.
Parang hindi pa nakwento yun, Senator, no? Hindi pa nakwento
Yeah, hindi
ever.
nakwento yun. No? But that's the most memorable. But the President has lots of, stories.
He's hilarious.
Just research on the internet.
Shows
All of his jokes.
Parang that shows some humility, sir, no? Bakit ako nanalo? And then mahirap sa'yo sagutin yun. Kasi, syempre nanalo siya eh. Di ba?
So, actually, the correct answer is not because, sir, let's look at your campaign promises. That's what I did. Research, enumerate, give body to everything, deliver to the people. In less than 2 years, almost all were delivered to the people.
Okay.
All right.
Questions from the people.
Yes, we need to rush. We're going to go to the Q&A. All right. I am going to read a question from
somebody sent a piece of
shy.
Yeah.
Somebody shy. All right. Your penmanship is horrible. For those who are railing against the elite and the oligarchy, let's keep it real. They are here staying at the moment. Jesus Christ, his penmanship is terrible. Given that it is the case, under what conditions do elites and the oligarch become committed to the reduction of poverty and inequality?
Let's ask them. Let us ask them. But we have to make it clear to the oligarchs who are benefiting from the current setup. Tandaan natin yan. These people became rich under our current way of life, our current system. So let us always remind them that they have, if not under the law, under written law, but under natural law or moral law, to also help the society, the country, and the system which made them rich in the first place. So gano'n yun. So that is actually the idea behind laws requiring corporate social responsibility. Laws imposing higher income tax rates on the super rich. That is the philosophy behind this. This is the system which has allowed you to excel, become super rich. Help maintain the system. Otherwise, if you do not, if there is a social volcano and this explodes, then you also lose everything.
All right, perfect. No, our final question is, sorry, we got it's the same girl from earlier. Please just ask the question. Here, okay. Last question, Senator Coco.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Tamara? Tamara, here. Tamara, Senator Coco.
Hi, it's an honor to meet you, po. I've watched the senatorial hearings and everything about Smartmatic. It's actually related to my question to Attorney Glenn Chong. I just want to know what your position is regarding the whole Smartmatic thing after being presented with the evidence and everything that has been going on. That's all.
Yeah. I am a mathematician. Hindi mo ako mabubola sa science, no? You cannot bluff me with science, flowcharts, etc. I'm also a lawyer. So I'm trained in evidence, in trial. So if there is evidence, I have no problem. Unfortunately, there are theories. But where is the evidence? Show me the evidence. I am willing to follow the evidence wherever that evidence leads. Then, if we can unmask the cheater because there is evidence of cheating and this leads to Mr. X, then we file a case against Mr. X. Pero ganun lang po tayo. That is my attitude. Actually, gustong-gusto ko nga makahuli. I want to be the one to discover that evidence and follow the evidence and expose the weakness in the system. I want to be that one. But unfortunately, sa ngayon wala. Okay? But I want everybody to stay vigilant, remain vigilant. Because, and a reminder to the COMELEC and to the technical committee, okay? Follow the law. The election is 14 days away. Actually, this election system has not been certified properly in accordance with law. And then OFW, nag-start na po ang botohan using a system not yet certified. So the Technical Evaluation Committee composed of the ICT, DOST, COMELEC, please be conscious of the requirement of the law. Issue your certification. Is this a system we can trust or not? Because that I will admit now, before all of you and before the world, online world, the certification is not yet there. And under the law, it should have been issued before the campaign period.
So you already have something.
That's already one question mark.
Thank
okay?
you, sir.
Give this back to me. All right. Thank you for your question.
Very good question.
Yes, Senator, thank you very much, and congratulations in advance. Ladies and gentlemen,
Senator Coco Pimentel.
Senator Coco Pimentel. All right. Okay, a couple of reminders for everybody watching at home. The hashtag is Politicon PH 2019. Yeah, that's the one.
Hashtag Politicon PH
2019. You're only allowed to say good things about me and Jesus. Everybody else, whatever. Also,
you can't say bad things about Jesus. You can't say bad things
Sure,
about Jesus.
we're both atheists. All right. Inquirer.net is streaming live on Facebook. So are politico.com.ph and the Manila Times. You can watch
our
it.
Partners.
Correct. So we wanted to stream it live, so there's no editing, so everything feels balanced, etc., etc. Now, we're gonna have one last person speak, one last senatorial, and then afterwards we'll have an amazing performance from Quest. We'll have the Marawi soldiers come on stage. We're gonna give them the money that you guys donated, and then we will have the highly anticipated debate between Richard and Sass.
The bloodbath.
Oh my God! Like backstage, the tension was
really.
It was sexual. No. The tension was palpable. And after that, for the people that did not hear the original spiel earlier, the first spiel, for the first time in Philippine history, we're going to have a super panel debate. 4 from the DDS and 4 from the anti-government.
4 from the DDS. 4 from. You said 4 from the DDS.
Yeah, 4 from. Well, anyway.
Just kidding.
Yeah, so it's going to be 4 and 4. That will be, I think, pretty entertaining. So please stay tuned. All right, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our next candidate. This guy I like so much. He's
very smart and good issue on electricity.
And a really good guy, like genuinely good person. Okay, so he is. Let me pull it up. A Filipino politician who is running for senator under the Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino Party, the KDP. Founder of the Citizen National Guard, founder and chairman of the Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino, and founder and principal convener of the Save the Nation movement. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy is possibly running on the smallest budget among all senators, but I really want him to win because he deserves it. Ladies and gentlemen, Butch Valdez.
Good evening. I was telling some people here right before I came up, I said I'm kind of intimidated by this group. The information I have from those that have organized this has been, given you superlatives in terms of characterization. So I congratulate you, all of you. And after waiting for some time, together with some other people, I was trying to contemplate what I should be saying. They have given me three issues that I'm supposed to talk about, and I will. However, let me introduce our party to you and why people like me, who is not a politician, got into this fray, got into this electoral process. To make that decision was very difficult. I, together with many other people, every time they talk about politics, you immediately have this impulse of rejecting it. Politics, oh no, that's not for me. And I used to have that. On the other hand, I suppose because of the background that I've had, I ran an accounting firm, I'm a CPA, and an economist for so long, I could not help but start briefing and giving lectures on economics and how our country should be going. All the time, especially after the EDSA 1. And hopefully, whatever lectures I was giving and briefings I was giving to different companies would somehow seep into the leadership for them to consider. I started a group called Save the Nation Movement, and then all focused on economics. And several other organizations that I've founded, Renaissance Philippines, Citizen National Guard, and Solidarity for Sovereignty. All focused on economics and sovereignty issues. And then came last year. Last year was a surprise, not so pleasant surprise for us to see that all of a sudden these politicians started looking, because of in anticipation for individuals who were very popular. And they gravitated towards them and started moving for their candidacy. And as we watched this was kind of stomach-turning for us. And our members were just disgusted to see these traditional politicians moving and trying to get into position so that they will become whatever. And there was a clamor for us to participate in the electoral process. They said, let's stop becoming observers and just yakking our heads off about how things should be. Instead of just watching as part of the gallery, let's get into the ring and start fighting for our country and for our people. This idea hit me. And being the head of the different organizations, we said, yeah, I think it's just about time. Because if we don't do it now, my feeling was things are going to go back the way it was before. And that was a very scary thought. We couldn't see any, for the first time in a long, how many decades, all of a sudden we have a president. We have a president with balls. I did not, when I was watching him campaign, I did not see in him a person who wanted to become president. He was kissing women, cursing, and then warning everybody that you better increase the number of cemeteries because I'm going to kill a lot of people. While he was campaigning, I said, this guy doesn't want to be president. He says, I'm going to kill all the drug pushers, drug lords, and so on and so forth, and criminals in your communities. They better be aware. I'm going to kill them. I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for anybody at that time. But of course, what happened? It was a phenomenon that he became president. I'm sure up to now you see this. But our mistake was, my mistake was, I looked at him from my eyes, not from the eyes of the massa. Something was happening in a sector of our society that we did not know was going on. Those people who saw in him not a killer, they saw in him a redeemer. And what was he saying? He was selling an idea. He was not selling himself. Because himself, you don't want to buy. You don't want to vote for him. But he sold an idea that for the first time, I have somebody who's going to save my life, my children, in this God-forsaken area, from these lords. You know, the drug pushers are the little drug lords in those barangays. Teenagers holding guns, taking charge of the growth of your children. This was what was happening. And immediately all of us were shocked. He has not yet been inaugurated as the next president. 300,000 surrender, fearing that this man might kill them. So the parents pushed their children to surrender. It was an idea. That was kind of inspiring. So coming to this election, I said, let us follow the phenomenon that had happened at the time. Let us follow that push for an idea. Let us trust the people that if we have an idea that will help improve their lives, that will bring them up to a level of quality of life that they have been longing for, if we can articulate to them these things that we have been saying, and they catch on, I said, we might just get them to vote for us. Duterte's idea, personally, was kind of crude, but it had reaped very positive things. I am of the opinion, for example, that his action against the United States at the time when he cursed them and he told them, we are no longer your colony. When he cursed them, it was a mayor from the province cursing these Americans. But he inspired many people. He inspired me. And because of that move that he did, America reacted and said, we will not give you aid. That opened up tremendous opportunities for us. Okay, I will go to China, I'll go to Russia. And of course, you know now the story, that the situation had changed. The whole plan of encirclement by the United States of China and the encirclement of the United States on Russia had changed. Now we're talking peace. Whereas at that time, before Duterte, we were talking about war. We were talking about the devastation that the world was going to face as we annihilate mankind. But now we're talking peace. On the basis of what? He just told those Americans, putang ina nyo. Hindi nyo na kami alipin. By that single act, he created a statement. Now, after that, going back to us, we said, let us come up with ideas. Ideas that might be difficult, a little bit more than what was presented by this administration. But let us trust them. Because somehow I feel that the level of understanding and values of the Filipino had jumped 2 or 3 levels higher. That was the phenomenon. Because why? Because they knew a change was possible. They felt it. They felt that through Duterte, there was the possibility of change. And so while he is still here, while they are in that level of excitement and hope, I said, let us intervene and add on to what this administration had started. That, ladies and gentlemen, it was the plan of the Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino. We came up with a platform of government on economics, on education, on foreign policy, on agriculture, and social welfare. That became our platform. We did not venture into other peripheral issues because these were the fundamental issues of what a nation should be. A nation is not defined by whether it agrees with gay marriage or not, divorce or not, or whether you agree with the criminal age of responsibility being brought down. These are peripheral issues. These are actually consequences of how a society is being influenced. But the basic issue is economics, agriculture, education, foreign policy, and social welfare. Social welfare is very important because social welfare means, to our mind, we have to address the forgotten Filipino. And the forgotten Filipino, to our mind, is the sacred Filipino family. Anything that destroys that, anything, any program, any process, any idea that destroys the stability of the most basic unit of our nation, no, we have to go against that. What destroys it? Drugs, of course. Crime, of course. Corrupt politicians, of course. And then, let me finish, thank you. Let me finish. And then we say, what about economics? Economics, a very vital issue. If your economics means to export your people to become OFWs, doesn't that destroy the stability of the family? So what do? You have to look for a way so that you do not have to do that. This is where we're coming from. Okay, thank you for your question. What about the 3 questions? Okay. Are there any adjustments President Duterte should make in his war on drugs? Yes. The adjustment should be the realization that the war on drugs cannot be won here alone. President Duterte, to my mind, has to initiate a convention, a summit, an international summit of countries wherein all leaders of countries will be committed to fighting and creating this war on drugs. War on drugs. Drugs destroys society, destroys every member of society in every country. China has gone to war against the British on this long before. And there are many areas, many instances where we can see this destruction. It is worse, to my mind, than terrorism, because it is much more insidious. It creeps into your society and into your families. And once you have a drug addict or a drug pusher in your family, it becomes a major problem. So, an international summit, preferably initiated by the President, to call the ASEAN first, and then the ASEAN to call for an international summit on drugs. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Butch Valdez. Great job. All right. Okay, so we want this to be more of a town hall kind of thing because we've been asking very few questions from the audience. Jesus and I will just ask one question each, and then we'll pass it on to you guys, okay?
We'll make it quick on our part.
You want to go first?
Yeah.
Please.
Sir Butch, so you mentioned about an international summit about drugs. President Duterte called for it. My question is, I think most other critics of the war on drugs would say there's already a consensus by the United Nations that the war on drugs is ineffective. So do we really need to have a summit, or does President Duterte just need to get those evidence or consensus from the international?
I would still go for the summit because all of these things, whether it's United Nations or what, the fact of the matter is there is a big and international drug problem. And the one who is actually pushing against war on drugs is a guy named George Soros. He is the biggest drug dealer in the world. And for a fact of the matter is this. We're producing, here in the Philippines, we're producing more drugs than we can consume. And much more drugs than we can consume. We only have 4 million users. But on the basis of the statistics, the drugs that we produce can cover up to 10 million users. We don't have that many users. Where does it go? So others say, of course, it is exported. But you don't export this volume of drugs just using little packages. No? You export them in volume. You have to, because it's just too much. When you export, it is inevitable that you make use of an institution called the banking institution. And if the banking institution...
Called the what, sorry?
Beg pardon?
Banking
institution. And when a banking institution is involved, then therefore there are some people there in that industry that are agreeable to fudge documents so that you can export the commodity. When you export, you wait for remittances. When you wait for remittances, you get paid in foreign exchange. Foreign exchange coming into the country cannot escape the attention of the central bank. And when that happens, either the central bank looks the other way, because it's very easy to check whether we're actually exporting the so-called commodity or not. And the other way of bringing it in is to create corporations outside and then bring it in through the stock market. And you launder the money that way. Many different ways. No? So look at it. You look at it in this way. If you can think that it can happen, that means it's happening.
Great. If I may, the drug war is something that I've studied meticulously and quite painfully over the last 3 years, because I think I'm the only DDS that's anti-drug war. Because all the evidence shows all over the world that it doesn't work. Failed in Mexico, failed in the U.S., failed in all over Europe, failed in Venezuela and Colombia. The only two places that I am aware of that are worked are Singapore and a tiny area of Tokyo, where they just murdered 60,000 heroin addicts or whatever it was. The idea here really is to go from drug pandemic to drug problematic to drug manageable, right? Because you'll never get rid of drugs, never. But you just wanted to get to a place where it's manageable, right? Are you completely for the way Duterte is handling this drug war? I mean, go ahead. I have a follow-up question after that.
I can't say I'm for exactly the way he's handling it, because it's quite a difficult situation that he's having. He's got a police force that he uses to go against drugs, when that police force is probably 20-30% involved in drugs themselves.
Oh, not probably. That's for sure.
That's right.
That's for sure, yeah.
That's why. And you can see that if he wants to stop it, how can he stop it with that kind of a situation? And the other thing, he's doing it in a constitutional way, wherein you have to go through these things with filing cases and so on and so forth, when even your judiciary, even the judges and the fiscals are involved in this thing. So it's quite endemic. However, despite that, he has held back from going further and declaring a revolutionary government. But the reason for that, I think, is because, when you declare martial law or revolutionary government, you have to have the cabinet and the police forces to be able to implement it. And he doesn't have that.
I have a question. Do you think addicts are bad people? Do you think drug addicts are bad people? Bad people?
Of course not. No. Addicts are addicts because they're
sick.
No, they get into these things whether they're sick or not. You see, some look for it as fun. The others look for it as an escape.
Well, people who look for it as fun are not addicts. It's the people who are sad and they look for escapism.
Well, yeah,
that's when they turn into addicts.
There's that kind of situation. But
that's the only situation that turns you an addict. If there's a hole in your heart and you fill it with gambling or alcoholism or drugs or sex, that's the only. I've never met a happy addict in my life. And I've worked with hundreds of recovering addicts. The only time you turn into an addict is if there's something lacking in your life. Usually it's value and meaning.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an escape.
Right.
And by the way, drug addiction started at one time. I'm a baby boomer, right?
For drug addicts.
This is what happened. During our time, somewhere in the late 60s and early 70s, there's such a thing as something that happened in New York called the, here's my senior moment.
Studio 54?
No, it's this, there were 700,000 young people that went to this place.
Woodstock.
Okay, sorry. And
Music festival.
Music festival. The music was playing 24/7 for a whole week. But Woodstock, that place, from what we understand,
arson, rape, everything.
Didn't have even portable toilets and everything. But it was also the place where the so-called pharmaceutical companies started giving out certain drugs, LSDs at that time, mud drugs, and so on and so forth, to experiment to see how the youth was going to take it on and how they can be affected. And from that time on, that was our generation. From that time on, we entered into the rock, sex, drugs counterculture.
So the 70s?
Late 60s.
Okay.
Late 60s.
Addiction was happening way before that, right? Like with alcohol and
the alcohol,
gambling,
of course. But these three things called rock, sex, drugs, counterculture, the kind of heavy metal music, then the entry of drugs and the free love became the mode. I'm speaking because I'm of that generation.
Sure.
And if that became the mode, then it also would, of course, result in certain the begetting of children that will be misdirected because that is the mode of the
How
generation.
do you think we should handle people who have addiction problems?
This one?
Yes, today.
Truth. We have to go back to the basics and go to something much more sublime. No? We have to get away from these artificial modes of fixing things and move towards the discovery of truth and discovery of truth and get the people probably to think about achieving scientific discoveries.
Solutions.
Yeah, and move towards what human beings can really do and what they can achieve. No? Because if we just go into this virtual reality type of corners, no, nothing will happen to us.
Yeah.
Nothing will happen to us.
Okay. I think I see people who really want to ask questions.
I really want to rebut. Is it okay? Do you mind if I just because?
Then we'll go to
then we'll go to the audience. It's just because it's a very important topic and it's so relevant in our society today. Addicts are, in my opinion, absolutely not bad people. They're sick. I look at them as people with cancer, diabetes, in terms of they don't have a choice in the matter. If you are a real addict and you're being given a choice between a bag of cocaine or your mother's funeral, if you're a real addict, 100% of the time you will choose the bag of cocaine. Not because you're a bad person, but because you have no choice. And that's why I think addicts should be treated with compassion. And sometimes it's just very difficult because unlike people with cancer or diabetes, drug addicts, they steal, they're angry, they smell bad, they vomit, it's a lot of, very difficult. But we must, because it's the kind and compassionate thing to do. Now, yeah, right? So I think that this violent drug war is not the solution. I really think that it's giving people value. This is what I mean. Oh my God, I'll be ranting for a while here, but this is something I think is very valuable. In the 1970s, I think, a scientist created an experiment with one rat in a cage and 2 bottles of water. One bottle of water was pure water. The other bottle was laced with either heroin or cocaine. Guess what happened? 100% of the time, the rat would choose the bottle with cocaine and heroin. And 100% of the time, the rat would die from an overdose. Now, many years later, I'm talking maybe about 20 years later, the scientists said that the original scientists made a mistake. This is because of Portugal. Portugal, they had a pandemic. 1% of the entire population was addicted to heroin. Huge problem. They tried the drug war that Duterte is doing now, failed miserably. Drug cartels just got stronger, etc., etc. So they came up with this new experiment. So they got another rat, put it in Rat Park. And in Rat Park, you had tunnels that were fun. They had food everywhere. You had that spinning hamster thingy.
And there were other rats they could play with.
And the most important part was there were many other rats that were with that rat, and they were having rat sex and rat for social whatever. So basically, the rat wasn't alone. And then they put the same two bottles, one pure water, and one was water with heroin and cocaine. Something spectacular happened. 100% of the rats chose the water that was clean. 100% of the rats. And what that tells you is that if you're put in an environment where you're lonely and it's a negative space, a cage, right? So anyway, like if you want, people could say, yeah, that's for rats, not for human beings. But thankfully, a couple of decades before that, the exact same experiment was happening. It was called the Vietnam War. So in the Vietnam War, it's very well documented. 92% of all American soldiers were addicted to heroin because, fighting everywhere, war, it's a desolate, really, really bad situation. And then the New York Times, I think, published an article saying, what are we going to do with all these soldiers when they go back to the U.S. and we have heroin addicts walking the streets of the U.S. And when they all went back, only 10% of the heroin addicts kept using heroin. Everybody else got sober because they're back with their families. They had meaning again in their life. They're back from this horrible situation and put somewhere else. So what Portugal did is they did something that no one else in the world had ever tried, which was they decriminalized all drugs, every single drug. So what that means is you go to a hospital and you bring your own needles or whatever, and then they give you the purest possible heroin, and then you inject yourself, and then you pass out. I don't know. I've never tried heroin before, but that's what happens. And then what happened was in the first 3 months, as expected, heroin users spiked. Everyone was doing it, right? After 1 year, 50% of usage went down. 50% of dealing went down. 50% of HIV from drugs went down, from sharing needles and all that stuff. And year after year, it went down and down and down and down because they made it legal. And it killed the drug trade completely. So, and this is the best part that Portugal did. All the money that they used for the drug war, which was used to stigmatize and antagonize and vilify drug addicts and saying that you're bad, you're horrible for society. Now what they did is they gave it to entrepreneurs. Like, for example, if you own a garage and you hire a recovering addict to clean your car, the government now pays for 50% of the salary. How awesome is that? Right? You know what I mean? Now, what that does is the drug addict wakes up in the morning with meaning in his or her life. They have value, you know what I mean? Because I heard this from a brilliant TED Talk, because the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connectedness, connection to people. So, the problem down here is that when Lenny Robredo, not this enlightened soul, Lenny Robredo, when she said, "Oh, we should do what Portugal did," I was like, "That's the dumbest thing ever," because our problem here is not heroin. The heroin you take it, inject it, and you pass out. Our problem here is shabu. Like, so can you imagine like thousands of shabu addicts walking the streets of Manila freely? That's horrifying. Shabu activates that murdery, rapey, caveman part of your brain, and I think it's really the only drug that should be criminalized. Everything else, decriminalized, because you can do whatever you want to your own body, it's also not hurting anybody else, right? So that's I think it's such a people don't understand the multi-nuanced, multi-layered facets of drugs and addiction, because they're completely different things. Coffee is a drug. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and addiction really is the problem. So yeah. Anyway, sorry
Okay.
about the rant. So.
We should go with town hall?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to do
Yeah,
that.
it's okay.
All right, Miguel Sihuko.
Good evening. Hello? Thank you, Mr. Valdez. I'm sorry to
Yeah.
try to interrupt. To
No,
remind
no.
you about our questions, it's just we as citizens posed some questions to you.
Yes, yes.
And I think we all were all hoping you would answer some of them.
Yeah, I didn't know how much time I had. I'm sorry as well.
Because you're running for our representative in the legislature.
Yes.
And we as citizens need to know your platform for
Yes.
how you will represent us. You say that President Duterte impressed you because he has the balls. But what I'm wondering is, will you have the balls to serve as a check and balance to the executive, even even though you do support him clearly, and be a good soldier not for the president, but to be a good soldier for us citizens, even we who dissent and oppose, because your party has consistently sought to vilify as seditionists. We who critique, dissent, and oppose, which I'm sure you agree is an essential part of any healthy, functioning democracy, especially ours, which is so terribly broken and is really more of a dictatorship of dynasties than it is a healthy democracy. So how will you... Can you tell us more about your platform, sir?
Yes, that's what I was trying to bring out earlier about my platforms, just that we'd run out of time. But the thing is, I'm sorry if I gave the impression that we are Duterte, how do you say it, Dutertards, right? That's the way people say it. We're not. I don't even know the guy. We've never been sponsored, or even any of us got to talk to the president, or even his close-in relatives, or even his cabinet. We put up the party on the highest ideals. We said our party must be a party of principle and not of convenience. Our party must be a party of ideas and not personalities. And no one of us ever took steps towards trying to get Duterte's attention. Having said that doesn't mean that I do not agree with some of the results of what he is doing. How he does it is his own way. How he does it might not be very popular, but the results of what he does is good for the whole country. That's the way I see it. Second, agreeing with President on this, on certain areas, does that mean we'd agree with him all the way? We have many reservations about the members of his cabinet. I have been critical, especially of these economic advisors. I have called them publicly as econoquacks. And I've told them almost in front of them that they are fooling the president. We did that with Jokno. We did that with Pernia. Now, do we have the balls to go against the president if he does something wrong? We've already done that. We've already said that his trained law, the one that he because of his trust and faith in his economic advisors, he signed into law. We have already said it's going to increase prices. And that's what had happened. We've already also said that his cabinet members are protecting the oligarchy, most especially on the electricity, cost of electricity. As you know, we're paying the highest electricity rates in the world. We're paying 24 US cents per kilowatt hour. Second to us is Italy at 23 US cents per kilowatt hour. The US pays only 12 US cents per kilowatt hour. One half of us, where the ordinary citizen in the US receives a salary 30 times higher than that of the ordinary Filipino. That's onerous and immoral. And we're calling on him to declare a state of emergency, to suspend the EPIRA law, and grant a 50% discount on all electricity consumers. To start with. Why? Because this act of privatizing public utilities is killing our population. The public utilities must first benefit the public, not the private sector. And we have to make a move towards that. And if the president is not going to do it, we will knock on his doors in every which way we can, no? For him to get these public utilities back into government ownership. It can be run professionally, but government must own it because the government is mandated to protect us, not the interests of these oligarchies.
Thank you, Sir Butch. Thank you, Miguel. We don't have much time for other questions. We apologize, but thank you very much, Sir Butch.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I know everybody is getting a bit excited or itsy with seeing Sas and Hey Darian. But before, and this is the last before, or one of the few last before, we see Sas and Hey Darian battle it out for a debate. We are very honored to have our guest speaker, and this is to cleanse our palate from the political candidates. No, we have a geopolitical analyst. We have to refresh our palate. Sorry, we have singer and a rapper, and I like his song with Sam Concepcion. But this is a new song. We have Quest in the house. Welcome him.
Check. Magandang araw po sa inyo lahat. At the end of the day, lahat tayo Pilipino nangangarap ng isang magandang Pilipinas. So, whether you're pro or anti, isang saludo para sa'yo. Ipaglaban mo yan. Sana manalo tayo. Magkikwento lang ako, ha? Ito ang alay ko, ito ang storya mo. Alamat na kailangan makilala ng buong mundo. Isang pagpupugay, kailangan ipagdiwang. Pasasalamat at di kay isinilang. Di pagkaraniwan para siyang superhero. Hinarap lahat ng pagsubok, yung iba hindi biro. Meron siyang misyon, kaya walang takot sumabak. Mga buhay na nagkasalalay sa kanyang pangarap. Parang pelikula, action, adventure, drama. May konting comedy, love story na pangmasa. Galing sa wala, akala mo talo na tapos. Yung pala siya yung bida, kaya lahat sila paos. Kasi sigaw kay selebrasyon. Buong mundo magtataka, kakaibang okasyon. Itaas ang kamay, sumigaw ng buho, tagumpay ng walang iba. Binigay niya buong puso, itarap lahat ng tuso, pati mga abuso. Nanatiling tapat sa pangarap hanggang naging uso. Ang buhay positibo. agresibo mismo, kaya pinaranganan siyang bayaning Pilipino. Taas noo kahit pango, di nalito, di huminto, di nabigo. Inabot pa yung ginto, ngayon tahimik na lahat ng kritiko. Mukhang bibig na rin nila yung mga bida na tunay na nagpakita ng husay dito sa liga ng buhay. Mga kampyon, mga dakilang hindi sumuko, di paalila. Sa inspirasyon, karagdagang lakas. Salamat, tumaan kayo sa tamang landas. Saludo kami sa inyo, saludo. Sabi daw walang pag-asa, pero tinapos. Sabi daw imposible, pero di pa rin natakot. Sabi nila mahirap, pero nagpursige. Kaya lahat sila ngayon, sige lang sige. Nung lahat umurong siya, sumugod dun lahat. Lumumpong Pilipinas, hindi nalunod, natutong maglakad sa tubig. Pananampalataya, Diyos sa kanyang agimat, kaya walang hindi kaya. Paglaki ko, gusto ko maging katulad mo. Maipagmamalaki sa buong mundo, yeah. Ikaw ang dahilan kung ba't hindi kami susuko. Taos pusong pasasalamat, lahat kayo alamat. Saludo sa mga bida ng tunay na nagpakita ng husay dito sa liga ng buhay. Saludo mga kampyon, mga dakilang hindi sumuko, di nagpaalila. Saludo sa inspirasyon, karagdagang lakas. Salamat, tumaan kayo sa tamang landas. Saludo kami sa inyo. Saludo, saludo. Kayo ang bida na tunay, magpapakita ng husay dito sa liga ng buhay. Saludo. Mga kampyon, mga dakilang, hindi susuko, di magpa...
All right, everybody. Sorry, technical difficulties. Once again, please, if you're going to be on Twitter or on Facebook, the hashtag is hashtag Politicon PH 2019. What we're really, really excited about right after Richard and Sass attempt to kill each other is the super panel between 4DDS. It'll be me, Sass, Attorney Darwin Caniente, and Attorney Trixie Cruz against Richard Hidarian, Jesus Falsis, and our two new friends from the other side. That this will be completely no holds barred. I'm saying this right now because we're looking at the online engagement, and everybody wants us to start the debate. We're going to give the money to the Marawi soldiers after one beautiful performance from Quest, and then Sass and Richard will try to decapitate each other. If you can look right there, Richard Hidarian's having a nervous breakdown. You see it? He's like, his whole internal body is collapsing. Are you okay? Do you need an IV drip? IV drip? Tequila? Tequila? All right. You ready? Are you ready for Sass? All right. Richard, I have to commend him. I don't agree with his politics, but he took, I think, the most heat in the last 3 weeks. But he was brave enough to jump into the fire, Lions Den, I guess, because he knew what this meant. This is more than, like you keep saying, it's more than just any of us. It's about putting together a platform where people can talk to each other properly. Right, Richard? Are you dead? You okay? Yeah, okay. All right, we're going to be back in a couple of seconds. We're just going to fix this. Thanks, everybody. Bye.